Welcome to Empirical Peapod.
Me and the crew used to do it. All right. This will be an easy one, actually. This is great. So, welcome to Empirical Peapod. I'm here with Dave Hughes. And today, instead of like a normal episode, because we already all know Dave. Dave was on the AP episode. Dave did his own episode. We're so sick of Dave. but I thought he'd be an interesting person to talk about. We're going to talk about our favorite albums today, and there's not a whole lot of crazy guidelines. They're not in like an order of like this is the most important one. It's just basically I hesitate to say top 10. It's just a collection of 10 for each of us, so this will drone on.
Yeah, it'll be a good conversation though.
Yeah, I've got a few honorable mentions too that I need to be talked about.
Agreed. Yeah, there were a couple that hit me too. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, but it's all the parameters are kind of all over the place. As far as for me, it was things that are significant to my life, or that like changed my perspective on life, or like were just huge in some sort of profound way to me personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what you think too?
Yeah, I did 5 like that, and then I did 5 that are kind of just more just like my kind of top 5, but from each, just one from each genre. So, yeah. Speaking of the, do you follow SNL? You watch SNL? No. So they have a 5 timers club. So I'm 3 timer.
Oh, really?
Right. So has anybody else been on your podcast 3 times?
Yes.
Damn it.
So if you want to get technical, Jason Carey has been on 4 times.
Okay.
And hashtag spoilers, there's talks of us doing another episode this season.
So he'll be a 5 timer. You gotta have a 5 timer club. That's
Yeah.
what they have on SNL. If you host 5 times, you get a jacket.
Oh
yeah, you get a whole.
I should go to the thrift store and get him a little something.
Absolutely, dude. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be.
But still,
awesome.
3 times, I feel honored.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
It's only been around. It's only the 3rd season.
I know. So what is it? So is this technically the 3rd season then?
Yeah.
And then
not technically, actually.
Well, so the last one we did though will also be the 3rd season.
No, well, the AP one it's actually right before this. I've been dicking around whether I should hold the AP episode until later. Also because I'm gonna have you mix it down.
Right.
So we're recording right after. We just did it a few days ago. So I don't know, but it doesn't matter chronologically because it doesn't reference anything. It's its own thing.
Right.
But we did. If it hasn't come out yet, we did do an AP episode, and it will be out. If it has already come out, hopefully you liked it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not to like.
Yeah, it was fun recording it. At least
It was a lot of fun. It was good
great
seeing those
time.
guys. I mean, I hadn't seen Jay in 10+ years, but it felt like I saw him.
I can't believe how
every
long.
week.
Yeah, you haven't seen Jake.
I know. Time goes.
Time do we go. But all right, let's jump right in. I'm gonna start with. Again, I'm gonna keep them in number order,
Okay.
just for the idea, just to keep them organized, not for importance. But the one that I felt like I had to put on there is Korn's self-titled album.
Okay.
I'm taking it back to 1994, which is not when I first heard this album, but it is when it came out. And my first concert was a Korn concert, Family Values, 99. So I got into Korn probably just after Life is Peachy in 96, so probably around 97, as I was getting into high school. And this album was just so crazy. Like, the drumming is insane. It's amazing. I think it's easy to miss the drumming because there's so much going on. It's the first album where I can really be like, not the first. The first would have been my number one, but it's one of those albums where you're like, I'm really noticing the music here and the vocals, and the vocals were crazy. Now, full disclosure, I can't really listen to Korn a lot anymore.
Sure.
But they were huge when I was a teenager and very important to me. And while I was putting this together, I went back and listened to that first album. It's so good.
So now, what album would have followed that?
Life is Peachy came out in 96.
Okay.
And then Follow the Leader in 99.
So, and we're talking about Life is Peachy.
No, we're talking about the first one in 94.
Okay.
Life is Peachy is almost like a companion album because it's so, I feel like they were done so close together that there's a lot of similarities. And I got to think that when they were writing the first album, they had a lot of those songs ready. but they were like, that'll be for the next album. Like, the producer was deciding what would go.
So would this be similar setup to say like, so what was like their breakout song? Was it
Their breakout song was Chutes and Ladders, which is just them with the bagpipes and doing nursery rhymes.
okay?
Aside from that, probably would have been Blind,
Okay.
which is the first track on the album.
Okay.
And I don't think I don't think anything from Life is Peachy. Oh, they did a Adidas.
Okay. Yeah.
Was on Life is Peachy.
Because a lot of bands, it's interesting, have the misconception is that like say Korn, what's the third one?
Follow the Leader.
In a lot of people's eyes, that's their first album,
Right.
Or Nevermind is Nirvana's first.
Yeah.
Or
that was where they like hit it.
yeah,
Yeah.
not realizing they had a lot of these bands had like sleeper albums that in some cases are superior
Right.
to the ones that are known by the masses.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Because usually I have a tendency to like the older, raw material for most bands that I like. I still like Follow the Leader is great. Also, Todd McFarlane did the artwork, and I've been reading Spawn since 1994. Like, I've always loved that part of it as well. And the songs are catchy as hell, and the album did blow up. But when you listen to that first album, by the time you get to Follow the Leader, it feels like they're doing less, but the songs feel bigger.
Yeah. Did they have the same lineup?
They did.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, David Silva, I think was his
Silvera,
name.
yeah.
Silvera, the drummer.
Yeah.
He was really good, and like I don't really follow them, but Ray, I can't pronounce his last name. Their current drummer,
Yeah.
he's really good, but two totally different styles, and in
Yeah.
a way, I kind of feel like Dave served the songs a little bit better.
Right.
Like it was more to the point, whereas like
I would almost go as far as say, so one of the things I love about Jay is not a rock drummer. Like when you and I play, you're a rock drummer,
Yeah.
and that feels great and that works. But Jay is a hip hop drummer,
yeah,
plugging into rock music.
100%.
And I feel like that's what David was to Korn. Is he had this whole different flamboyant style that just worked with all this heaviness from the music, because that was where at least I first noticed 7-string downtuned guitars, and the vocals were a lot to deal with. And it came at a point in my life where I was feeling a lot as a teenager, and to hear this guy just leaving it all out there every track, and like I would watch the music videos, or I would see like they had a documentary called Who Then Now, and like you can see him just emotionally distraught after performing in the studio. Like, damn, this guy is putting it all out there. That's awesome, and I really, really attached to that for a long time.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I certainly had my songs of theirs that I would listen to like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I did see them in fact. So where did you see them?
Rosemont Horizon in Family Values 99.
Yeah, I saw them. I think it probably would have been the Family Values, because that was with Limp Bizkit, and
Ice Cube, Rammstein, and Orgy.
Okay, maybe I saw them on some. I made an anger management tour.
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
because it was System of a Down,
Right.
Korn, and Limp Bizkit. I saw them at Peoria Civic Center.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That would have been like 2000, 2001, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was a good show.
Yeah. I will say also as time went on, like Untouchables and some of their other albums where people will say they fell off, I still really enjoy those albums. I think they are better albums musically, and like I think they're written better.
Yeah.
But I like that older raw stuff. It's the same thing like with the Marilyn Manson. Like once people stopped paying attention, he started putting out better albums.
Right. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Yeah. That's a good one. So my first one that I'll go into, so like I said before, like 5 of them are kind of more geared towards like a specific reason.
Yeah.
The other are strictly like the music, but I'll start with the most cliche one, but for good reason. So Nirvana's Nevermind. Now, there's probably so many people listening to this being like, "Oh, Jesus!" Like, really?
Yeah, I'm one of them.
And I respect that. But
Guys excited though. Guys like, yeah, Nirvana.
But here's the reasoning. So first of all, obviously, this is like right around the time it came out.
Yeah.
I
Also,
got
you can't deny it is still iconic, whether you like it or not.
100%. It's no different than like, listen, like I feel like I have a pretty good musical background.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting too because we consider ourselves the same age, but you are a few years older.
100%. Yeah.
So like, I feel like you're just on that cusp where you're like at the tail end of Gen X.
Yeah.
And I'm at the beginning of millennial.
Yeah. No, I'm right on the cusp. And like, the thing is I have a pretty broad musical background as far as like taste goes, and a lot of people are surprised to find out that I'm not a fan of the Beatles. No,
Really?
It's not that I don't like totally respect it, and like they did kind of the same thing in their generation that Nirvana did. Like they came onto the scene, and it all of a sudden wasn't necessarily about like complexities.
Yeah.
It was about simplicity and like, wow. And so for me, the reason it makes it on the list is, I was heavily into sports around that age of like, 13. And, I've had foot problems all my life. I got an injury, kind of started running with a different crowd, getting into some things I shouldn't have, got grounded. And my parents took away my CDs, but they didn't know how to work the CD player, so they left Nevermind in my CD player. And my friend Bill, who lived down the street, he was a lefty, and I'm righty, so I had like a shitty like left-handed acoustic guitar missing like 2 strings on it. And one night, and I had always dabbled with like instruments here and there, but I started playing, and I realized that I could listen to something and recreate it by ear.
That's crazy.
And, I'm not going to, we covered this on the other podcast, but, that was a huge turning point in terms of
that kind of pushed me towards
music.
That's wild.
And, looking back on it, like I wouldn't change it for anything. And what I loved about it is when I was listening to it, it had that powerful like impact on me to where like, man, I can learn this. It's so easy, but like how powerful are 4 power chords?
Yeah.
How crazy is it that it's that simple, but like that catchy? So yeah, I mean, I'll start off with that one again. Sorry for all you out there who are like cliche, but it could have been any album. It just happened to be that album that was in there.
I mean, it's still critical to your life. I remember how that album came into my life. My uncle, whose birthday is today, actually.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Uncle Mike. He just turned 70 today. The day we're recording, not the day this comes out. But he brought it to my house because my dad always had tons of CDs. Jason, my brother, always had tons of CDs. And I was still pretty young, so I was coming up. And he's like, oh, I got this, and I'm not really into it. But we figured you guys would laugh about it because it's got a naked baby on the front, which I did think was hilarious. And then when we heard it, we were like, oh, wow, this is different. Because I remember the first song I ever liked on my own, like where I was like, I'm making the decision. Like somebody's not showing this to me or putting this in my face, or it's not a kid's song or something that I'm supposed to like, quote unquote. The first song that I ever heard and was like, I like this, was Losing My Religion by REM.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me that I can remember that. But then going from that to hearing the opening of Nevermind, I was like, oh, okay, there's all kinds of stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
This is crazy. These days, if I'm going to listen to Nirvana, it's going to be the Unplugged album. The Unplugged album still is so good.
Fantastic.
And I love, like, my favorite tracks are covers, unfortunately. Not even unfortunately, they're just so good.
And Who Sold the World?
Oh, yeah. It's such a good cut. The Meat
Where Did You
Puppets
Sleep
cover.
Last Night?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Meat Puppets, I believe. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was a huge change. But then, kind of going back to the Korn thing, as I got into them and realized like, oh, they have another album, and then I got introduced to Bleach.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, like, dude, this album is awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much more raw. I mean, obviously a different drummer, so like it didn't quite have like the power that like Dave Grohl brought, to Nevermind. But, in Nirvana's defense too, like, for people who are, into the history of like, the album production and stuff, if for as polished as it is, that really wasn't their intent. You know, it's kind of well known that they were not super pleased with the mix. I mean, they brought, you know, Butch Vig, who a lot of people know, hopefully, you know, he's in the band Garbage, and he produced the Smashing Pumpkins Siamese Dreams album and Gish. He recorded the album and he originally mixed it, but you know, the label was like, so Andy Wallace, who was famous for like mixing like Slayer and stuff, gave it that kind of polished sound that ultimately propelled them to stardom, which, depending on how you look at it, maybe wasn't such a great thing, because obviously we know what happened, you know. So
I think it'll probably come up more on these lists. Is I would love to have seen what was next.
100%.
You know what I mean?
You never know. So that's my first one. So I got the cliche one off the list.
Well, speaking of cliches.
Oh, here we go.
And so my first one's from 94. That was from 90. Plugging right into the middle in 1992.
Ace of Base.
Close. Rage Against the Machine's first album.
Okay, well, I'm not going to fight you on that.
Comes out in 1992.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these albums, when I look at like the times they came out, even with Nirvana, like 1990, you know, we're kind of just coming out of glam rock and stuff like that. When you think about what was famous, and then Cowboys from Hell by Pantera came out in 1990.
Dude, you got the Black Album.
Yeah.
Metallica. I mean, like, regardless of whether you were a fan of it or not, like, those first few years of the 90s were powerful, because not only, and it's not limited to the grunge movement necessarily, but it did kind of boot the whole hair band thing out of
I think a lot more stuff broke through.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I would be curious to have that conversation about glam rock kind of allowing that, in the sense of everybody likes this because it's easily digestible, and it made everybody kind of paying attention to the music scene in general, and a bunch of stuff came out from every direction right after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's something to be said about that, I feel like, as a tip of the hat to that scene before. But the first Rage album, holy Christ. This thing, so this is similar to Nirvana, though. A lot of people don't like Rage Against the Machine, which I think is insane. Randy doesn't necessarily care for Rage Against the Machine.
You know why?
I do. I think I know why. I think I can see that their stuff is... It's definitely got an agenda, which I personally like. Besides that, though, I think it's repetitive, at least the courses, because they're trying to drive a statement home. And I think that turns some people off, where it almost becomes like an anthem, like anthem rock, instead of like what it is. But the blending of everything, and the Tom Morello on guitar, like every single person in the band is uncomfortably good.
Yes.
And if you can get your hand, like, I remember I paid $50 for a live bootleg CD, because it was them live and rare. And then years later, I maybe got it on a record for like $12 because I'm an idiot, because I was a kid. But them live is insane, because one of the reasons me and Jay always play differently live every song is because I love Rage Against the Machine. Because Tom Morello will change everything and do different stuff live every time he plays. And I always like that, because it makes me want to hear every live performance and see what they're going to do. But the messaging, like...
When did you see them?
I saw them, I couldn't even tell you what year. It had to have been a long... No, it was when they came back. I can't even tell you who they were with, because I've also been lucky enough to see Audio Slave.
Okay, nice.
I saw them at Lollapalooza, and then I saw Rage Against the Machine. All I remember is it was at the place where, like, there's the big hill, you know, and you can sit outside.
Tinley Park, yeah.
And there's a deck there up the hill, and the girl I was dating at the time was it was like wet, so she hooked her ribs to this deck, and I was like, that's the grossest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy.
I saw them, I can't tell you what year, but it was the Battle of Los Angeles tour.
Oh, nice.
I saw them at Allstate Rosemont.
That would have been, I saw when they came back, so that would have been their
when they opened with Testify. Dude, I mean, like, when that place lit up, and this is like pre-smartphones and shit, so like it was electric, man. It was
so I'd be curious to have your opinion too, because that first album is good, but I wouldn't say overproduced, but it's so clean. The next two albums were not. I think they each took a step raw each album, but it made sense for the music.
So I don't. Hopefully, the music buffs out there don't kick me for this. But if I'm not mistaken, so did you ever see the documentary Sound City?
No.
Do yourself a favor and watch it.
Yeah.
So Sound City is a famous recording studio in LA that Fleetwood Mac, Tom Petty, Nevermind, Rage, Queens of the Sun, like everybody's recorded there.
Yeah.
It's a horrible place, dirty, just disgusting,
Right.
but it had a magical drum room and it had a magical Neve console, which part of the documentary they're closing down, obviously times have changed, whatever, but Dave Grohl buys the console from them and brings it to Studio 606, which is the Foo Fighters headquarters.
Oh, nice.
Then brings a bunch of people back in to record, and he actually does a song with Brad from Rage, Josh Homme from Queens. But anyways, Rage, I'm pretty sure it was their first album recorded at Sound City live.
Wow.
They did it live.
Yeah.
Which I think is freaking cool.
That is
so
cool.
That first album probably carries with it a different energy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
Because there's footage of them in there doing it, and
Yeah.
it's just there's people in the room, like it's almost like a mini concert.
Yeah, because I always loved too the in the pamphlet in the booklet it says all sounds made with guitar, bass, drums, vocals. There's no extra BS on that, and they're one of the bands too. So one of the things you and I we didn't fight about, but one of the things that I always not rejected but irked is you'd always say famous bands play with backing tracks, and that is true to an extent. But a band like that, it never felt like they were playing with a backing track.
Never.
Because they would tweak their stuff too much. So like, I think it would be hard for them to do that.
Well, and they weren't. When you listen to their stuff, they didn't go crazy with samples or and furthermore, he didn't, for as big as his guitar sound, he didn't do a lot of layering. So in their case, they were very organic. They didn't need the backing
that was one
tracks.
of the things that I noticed too when I was so young is you could hear every instrument. Like there was so much space to enjoy every piece that you other albums will have Victor Wooten. I love Victor Wooten. There's like 16 bass layers, which is insane on certain tracks. So while you start getting that layered, you're like, it sounds amazing. But to hear something so stripped down was like, wow, and you could still do it like this, sounded so cool. That's not even talking about the content, because now you figure this. I was only 9 when it came out. By the time I found it, I was becoming a teenager, a radicalized teenager, and there's like 2 albums that really radicalized me. This is one of them, where I was just like, this made me start paying attention and want to understand what's happening and why in the world, without taking it too seriously, but like so that I can still enjoy life. Yeah. But at least be like, okay, there's things going on beyond what I'm seeing, and this was the album that really opened that door, and it is important to me for that.
It's a good choice, man.
Thanks.
I love.
I'm curious. I don't think we're gonna have any crossover. But I'm curious if it's gonna happen.
We might.
Yeah.
Might.
Okay.
But I can't remember. We'll see.
All right.
You'll know when I say it too.
Yeah.
So my next one, before we kind of get into like the more specific top 5. So this one I'm labeling as biggest flip, and what I mean by that is the band came out with an album or two. They were known for a sound. Maybe they went on a little bit of a hiatus. Then they come back with an album, and it's like, wait a second.
Really?
What is this?
Ooh, that's exciting.
So, believe it or not, the band is Silverchair.
Wow.
So,
You're just picking all the bands I can't stand.
they and to be fair, I was not a fan of them.
Yeah.
When they
Frog
came
Stomp
out,
was their first album.
Yeah, and then
I love that
something.
too. Yeah.
Wasn't super. Part of it was probably because I felt like it was a carbon copy of like the grunge movement, like whatever. And like,
it wasn't. They were still kids when that album came out, and that was
they were
impressive.
very young.
Yeah. But I gotta imagine, like a couple albums later, you're saying it blew you away.
So this was 2007, so it had been quite some time.
Wow. Yeah.
The lead singer had dealt with some, mental health issues, whatever, and they took a little bit of a break. And what's cool though is it's not like they came back with the lead guy and like 2 other. It was still the same band.
Yeah.
And I remember I heard the first song and I was like, wait, this isn't them. So then I listened to the next one. I listened to the whole album and I was like, holy shit! Like how did they end up at this? I mean,
Yeah.
some of the songs are very almost like not so much sound but structure, like Beatles, like Sgt. Pepper's era, or like the Beach Boys, like using a lot of different sounds and a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little bit more poppy.
Sure.
But for me, it was so. I found it fascinating that a band could take that big of a turn, and I was just blown away. Like honestly, like from a sonic standpoint, like if you ever get a chance, like there are some specific songs that I could give to you that you could listen to. And especially if you have in your head that what they're known for.
Yeah.
Like I forget what their popular songs were back in the day, but very just like angst driven, like grunge, whatever. And these are anything but like, and it really kind of showcased their talent, which was cool. It's like, damn, like okay, these guys can play.
Yeah. What's the name of the album?
Young Modern.
Young Modern. It makes me want to check it out because like I said, I didn't like Frog Stomp in the first place 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to check that out. I'm going to encourage everybody to check out all these albums also.
Absolutely. And like it's just, and again, it's on a normal day, this album itself probably it would make a list of mine, but like it wouldn't be on this list if it wasn't for the fact that wow, these guys really turned the page.
Yeah.
And there have been some other bands out there that, of course, I can't think of who, but like that used to be, more, metal, and then they turned more pop, or they were pop, and then they turned metal, and like, that a lot of people don't realize it, but
AFI has done, I feel like people will say by the time Sing the Sorrow came out, it was a drastically different album from like the pure punk rock before it, but it's still such a good album. Mm-hmm. But then everyone kind of kept going that direction and getting a little farther, depending on who you are, getting a little farther away each time.
Yeah. Well, I think Trent Reznor famously was in like a super like Devo type pop band before Nine Inch Nails. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sometimes you don't realize the person's, and not only that, but a lot of these musicians, their background, like, you look at somebody like, and I can't remember his last name, but Ray, I think is his name, from Korn.
Yeah.
And, he slams on the drums, like whatever, but when you watch like either like an interview, documentary, you learn that like, oh, this guy's background is like in jazz.
Yeah.
Like, and they're good.
Right.
So sometimes when you're playing your paycheck music, right?
Sure,
when you're in a band, us as the listeners assume that that's their capabilities, right?
Right.
No different than like, I mean, that's why like a lot of people who, get pissed when, whenever somebody comes out, a magazine or whatever comes out with the best guitarists, best drummers, it's like, how do you even gauge that?
Right. Yeah.
People get mad that like, Ringo Starr's on the list. Ringo sucked. It's like, but why? Because he didn't do fills constantly.
Right.
Like it's not always about the technicality aspect.
That's true. Plus, although it leads me to the point of one of my favorite things I've ever seen in an interview is when John, Paul, and Ringo and George were doing an interview, and they asked, they're like, "Is Ringo the best drummer in the world?" And Paul's like, "He's not even the best drummer in the Beatles."
Right, and that's probably true. I mean, the White Stripes would not have the White Stripes sound if it wasn't for her simplicity.
Right. Yeah.
If you all of a sudden bring a drummer in who's like just like killing it with like it loses it. You got to serve the song,
right,
and the style that you're playing.
Yeah, so. That's true. Serving the song is huge.
But yeah, shout out to Silverchair, Young Modern. It's I'm telling you, if you listen to a few songs off like Neon Ballroom, I think it's called, or Frog Stomp, and then you listen, you're just like, there's no way that's the same band. Even his voice.
Yeah.
He obviously saw like a voice coach, and like it was really, really cool to hear.
That's how I feel about Slipknot too. If you go from their first album to like their third album, I think when Duality came out, I was like, wow, because I loved the first album. Again, super raw and crazy, mixed so well. First time I heard drum triggers, between that and Fear Factory, I was like, oh my gosh, drum triggers are wild. But then by their third album, you're like, oh, Corey can actually sing, and he's really good.
Well, then yeah, with Stone Sour,
Yeah.
and like all of a sudden, like you're like, oh yeah, you can sing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, man, we're staying in the early 90s.
You know, I would say most of my list is probably yeah.
I do not know that. I don't know if I have anything modern, but now we're going to 1993.
Okay.
So again, I was only 10, and this album did not come to me till way later in life.
Okay.
Actually, probably 10 years after it came out. It's 9 actually. It's the first time I really sat and like heard the whole album. But it is amazing top to bottom, and a pivotal album for anybody that just wants to have a good time, and that is Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg. Bruh, this album is so good.
I will get to my my hip hop album.
Do you have your token
later.
hip hop?
I have my token. You know, it's worth noting that you know, and I'll get to this more because this is your album, but I have a long history of hip hop, like listening to hip hop. So, 100%, like. Even like the Chronic, like I mean, like
so good.
there were some albums that came out then that were just like, wow.
I had a hard time between this and Straight Outta Compton.
Okay.
Because I love NWA, and those would be an honorable mention only for the fact that when I'm thinking album wise, I'll probably go to an NWA Greatest Hits.
Yeah.
Because it's got more of the songs I want to hear, even though Straight Outta Compton is amazing. But there's going to be a couple tracks that I want to hear as well. To whereas Doggy Style, if I think of Snoop Dogg, that's going to cover everything I want to hear.
Well, I'll tell you, man. You know, again, from like the sonic part of it, you know, a lot of the early rap like was like the 808s, like the very like stock like kick snare, like the kind of clap snare. When that first track comes out, and that's like when I don't know if you had a system in your car with like you know, like subs and stuff. It was mixed so well. It was like one of the first like rap albums, besides the one that I'll talk about too, that like sonically like wasn't just like like it sounded so full.
That's true. Yeah, and that's one of the things I noticed too is like I'm a sucker for drum and bass, and it wasn't like listening to like an Eminem or a lot of rap stuff where it's all these different samples. Like there's a couple samples in there, don't get me wrong, but it's predominantly these just drum and bass tracks that have these really good little bass lines. That's why we've been lucky enough to cover some of them. I'm like, these are so fun to play, and they sound so cool. Also, as a lyricist, my goodness. I don't know if you remember the line, 80 degrees when I tell his bitch, please raise up off these NUTs because you gets none of these. Come on.
You know, the early 90s too, I feel like is like when they really started like storytelling in a way, you know, and it wasn't just like trash talking or like swearing to swear.
Also,
about drugs
I would almost argue with that and say it was still storytelling.
Yeah.
Because it was started on the streets, like in freestyles and stuff, talking about struggles and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of stuff today is, you know, it's got its place, don't get me wrong, and it's got its audience. Some of them just sound great. But I think the beef stuff came later, or just somebody talking about ridiculous stuff came later, or guns, girls, and money, whatever. This was still like, there's substance here, right?
Yeah, that was a really good album. Yeah, that whole like early 90s, because I remember, like I said, even when like Dre's Chronic came out, I was like, ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe what I really meant to say with the story, it was, I don't want to make it sound like it was like sellouts, but it's like when rap became kind of more commercialized and like more universally.
Well, I think when white studio executives realized they could exploit it, and then they started doing that.
Because I mean, you had stuff in the like 80s and stuff that was around and like made an impact of sorts, but not like the early 90s when all that stuff started to come out.
Yeah, it definitely paved the way. But like, because like I also love oh my god, I just brain farted on their name, Chuck D and
Public Enemy.
Public Enemy is so good. Also, they're another one though where like I'll probably listen to Greatest Hits. I couldn't pull just one album, but I love Chuck D in general because he's done a lot of other stuff that I absolutely love too. But also Little Flavor Flav. Come on, Flavor Flav.
And I mean, you make a good point when you were introducing it. Is it's a fun album.
Yeah,
You put that on and like it's even though some of the content may not exactly be, it's uplifting. Like maybe not the message necessarily, but like the music. Like you play that at a party. I don't care if it's 94, 2004, 2024.
Right.
Like, no one's going to be like, what is this shit?
That's true. People are gonna be like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, totally. No, longevity, man. It means a lot.
That's true.
It means a lot. Let's see, what else do I got? What should I do next? I'll do my, so I'm going to do what I'm calling my end-to-end. So the album that I could listen to beginning to end, not skip a song.
Yeah.
I feel like you may not know it. I feel like a lot of people listening are not going to know it. So I think we're talking like 94-ish, a band called Dig.
Oh, right.
Self-titled album. Maybe they came out with like one or two other albums. They really only had one hit off of the album that got play on MTV. It was a song called Believe. Kind of had like an anthem-y chorus, but it had like this bass line in the beginning. Listen to it later. I'll text it to you. But the rest of the album, and it's fair to also mention that it also kind of holds like a nostalgic like place in that time of my life. But what I love about it is the way they ordered the songs. It's just the right blend of, this song is like, has these beautiful sweeping, like, guitars and stuff. This next song has like that anthem-y like chorus that you could sing along. And then this one kind of brings more like, it grabs you and just keeps you. And for the last 30 plus years, man, like I just not long ago listened to it and like in full. Wow. From beginning to end.
That's awesome.
And that will always, there's some other, I mean, there are definitely other albums that I consider my end to end, but what I love about it too is it's kind of one of those like the shortcut that only you know about and you're kind of proud of it.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people know this band, and not to like, I want to like come off as a pretentious snob, but
or
at
a
the same
gatekeeper,
time,
but
it's kind of nice like having that album to go to that not everyone's like, oh yeah, I don't like them. It's like, it's just like, it shows how, and who's to say that they did it consciously or on purpose, that they put the songs in this order, but I feel like had they not been, it wouldn't have the same effect on me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you don't think about. You just kind of notice as you're going. Like you would notice if they felt wrong. But yeah, it's important for it to flow a certain. I remember when we did the Blue album, we put so much thought into the track order, and I remember I had a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I'm gonna show it to this important guy," and when he got back to me, he's like, he said that the song order is so bad. It's like the way, like how the songs go track to track, and I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah,
but it is important. Like if they don't flow and it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I was thinking about it earlier because there were some other ones on there, but I was like, I got to put this one on there because it's the one that I always kind of come back to. I mean, in all honesty, Silverchair's Young Modern is an album I could listen to from end to end. And, it's funny. I was talking to my daughter on the way here about it, and she's like, oh, what did you choose? And I'm like, well, I'm like, it's hard because, and I think a big reason you and I tend to be focusing on, the 90s and earlier stuff is we're not a listening society of albums anymore.
Right.
It's songs.
That's true. The attention span is shorter now. And you can just grab a song so easy over the last 10 years.
I mean, when we wanted a song, off an album, we had to buy the album.
Right.
And then we, happy accident, shut up, Bob Ross, realized, oh, this isn't the best song of that. There's some good stuff on here that didn't make it as a single because the powers that be didn't feel like it could bring in enough money, right?
I miss those days of the surprise of, oh, this is not the genre I thought it was.
I mean, to be fair, like, and not necessarily because it's been overplayed, but like Smells Like Teen Spirit might be one of my least favorite tracks on that album.
Yeah.
I liked the ones that didn't get, like, I liked Breed, you
Right.
know, I liked On a Plane, I liked Drain You, like, none of those really got singles.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to anybody who bought Sugar Ray's first album because of Fly, and then learned that they were not that band.
Yeah, no, totally. But that's the thing is like,
Same with Hoobastank.
Yeah,
the reason they are
yeah.
not that band.
But you know, I think that's a big reason that it's the way that our conversation is going is because now even the bands that are still relevant that I listen to, I'm only picking the songs I like, and to my own fault, I should be spending more time listening to the whole thing because I'm probably missing out.
It's tough, like, because I have a tendency to, I guess because I'm just the old guy, I can see on the apps we use, like, single. I won't listen to singles. I look for the last full album, and that's where I'll plug in. Or if they put out a new album, I'll sit and listen to the whole thing. But I'm also looking for something to, like, catch me.
Right.
Like, because I don't make playlists. I have just artists in my thing. So I tend to focus on albums. I might skip a song here or there, but I'm trying to. It's probably why I haven't branched out a lot lately over the last couple of years. Because I have an insane eclectic taste, but I usually try to listen to albums in general.
What's your go-to for music platform? Spotify?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, so I do YouTube Music.
Right.
And
What?
Well, yeah.
Just you're the only one.
Well, so I watch a lot of YouTube,
Sure.
right? And you know, sounds like a line, but I really do use it more for education, and I mean, I'm into a lot of things like aviation, cooking, like construction. Like,
Do you have YouTube TV?
well, no. So I have YouTube Premium, which basically
okay.
means
Yeah, yeah.
I have no ads,
Right.
and I also get YouTube Music, which
Nice.
is like
Does
any
it come with
other-
that, or is it an additional?
It comes with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is why I
All
never
right, well, that
bothered
makes
with-
sense then.
Yeah.
That's totally.
It's,
If you don't have a bunch of other things, that's totally worth it.
unlimited streaming, and what's cool too, and I'm sure maybe Amazon's the same, but like, you know, when you're listening to the song, if there's a video that accompanies it, you could toggle between the song and the video.
Oh, see, that's what I love about YouTube is I like music videos.
Right. So you have that option, but what's cool is, you know, obviously all of them use like, you know, AI and learning, you know, but what's cool is it creates mixes for me. It has my main mix, but then it also creates sub mixes for me based on the style of music.
Yeah.
So there's one mix that's obviously geared towards like punk and so, but then it also creates for me what's called my Discover mix. So like based on these bands you're listening to, we think you'll like these bands.
Yeah.
And it's been cool because there's been a lot of like bands that I've come across through that. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all of them are pretty much the same, but
Right.
yeah, but I mean, it's a nice added bonus because like I said, of all the YouTube videos I watch, like not having the ads, I'm like, oh, I got this music platform too. And
Yeah, that's pretty good.
it works in my car and
Yeah.
it's all good.
Plus, I think you have to have premium to be able to turn your phone off and still have it play.
Yeah.
Because that's annoying. Like, but I have Prime. If you have Prime, you get a discount on the music.
Yeah, I do have Prime.
So you get a discount on the music.
Who went last? Did you go last?
I think you just did Dig.
I did just do Dig. So we went. Yeah,
I was wondering how long it would take us to get lost.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're on track. All right.
So now this spot I've kept blank
Okay.
because I keep going back and forth on two albums.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just kind of shoehorn one in and probably focus on the other.
Okay.
The one I'm gonna shoehorn in is Tool, 1996. I still can't pronounce the name of it. Anima.
Yeah.
My goodness, what an amazing album. And I don't have a whole lot to say about it because it just stands on its own. Top to bottom, that's a perfect album. It is so good. And it made me want to hear more Tools. So when I went to Undertow, and I think if you go backwards, Undertow is very different. But I loved Undertow also. And that kind of exposed me because Henry Rollins is on a track in that. And that brought me to Henry Rollins, whom I absolutely adore as a person. And, but that 1996's Anima, that Tool album was pivotal. I listened to that so much. But the actual one I'm going to put in there is closer to a modern album, Rise Against RPM, which I think came out in what, 2002? 2000, no, 2000. Jesus Christ, maybe 2000.
So I've listened to Rise Against. There were like 2, maybe 3 songs that somehow ended up on like at the time like my Apple iTunes. Forget what song. They were probably one of their more like mainstream songs, but
Yeah.
I liked them. I just for whatever reason never really got into them.
I think it's tough, like, because they were formed in the ashes of other Chicago bands that I also loved. But man, I love Tim's vocals. I just like the speed and the aggression of it all, especially back then with RPM. I remember I was in the back seat of Dan Walsh's car the first time. Jason Carey was in the passenger seat, Dan was driving, and they were listening to RPM because it was still new when we were like just barely able to drive. And my goodness, it hit me so hard. Like, the opening line to the album is like, simply because you can breathe doesn't mean you're alive or that you really live. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Whatever he's saying from here on in, I'm in. And the whole album has so much amazing content. And then after that, the next album, Siren Songs of the Counterculture, is also amazing and has some of their best tracks. Like, I can't speak to the most recent album, might have not caught, at least it wasn't something that caught me. But those older albums, especially RPM, I love Rise Against, and they were fantastic.
I think the songs that I probably got into were off the Suffer and the Witness.
Yeah.
So that would have been one after that.
That's
like,
where they
for
were
the
super
Refugee.
mainstream then, and I don't say that as a bad thing. Like, good on them,
Yeah.
make money. But the older stuff when nobody cared and they were still on college radio, whew, that stuff was insane. So good.
Yeah. No, they had a cool sound to them. Probably what happens over time is like, it gets more of like an overproduced sound and not as raw. But sometimes, the couple of songs I did listen to them, that what I liked is like they had like some really cool tempo changes and stuff.
Yep.
Like it would go like really hard and fast and kind of just go.
I love insane dynamics, like as you've seen, because you've been around as I write stuff or come up with stuff, and it's like usually ridiculousness and then like mellow.
Yeah. No, Rise Against, are they still making music?
Yeah, they just put out a newer album that we were all kind of bummed about.
Oh yeah, they got like.
I think all three, me, Schmed, and Jason were listening to, and we're like, "Is that even the same singer? Doesn't sound like Tim." But I don't know.
So when we get to my last one on the top 5 list, which we're not quite there yet, is all about mixed or produced. Like, what do I consider one of like the best mixed sonically, not necessarily musically, but just like the sound. And so I had a few in mind, but the one that I ended up on my list, I was like, not that I care if it's not on anyone's list, but I told myself, I need to find it on someone's list of best mix songs to make myself feel like I'm not reaching.
Yeah.
So I found it on Reddit on someone's list.
Nice.
But I will say, when you search that, I mean, like, the Eagles Hotel California is on a lot of people's lists for best mix, but Tool, that album, is on there numerous times. I forget what other albums are on there, but I was able to find my album. But that's number 5 that closes out my. But my number 4. Which I'm calling like, so I did have most nostalgic album at one point, and that was actually the Pumpkin Siamese Dream, and because almost every song on that album brings me back to like such a vivid memory or memories from like my teens, more than any other album, like crazy. But I decided it was between that or like most personal, and I already told you, spoiler, the one that I was going to include this on there, which is from a little band called AP, the Angel and no, but here we talked about this for people who, whether or not the AP podcast comes out later, like, I've made quote unquote albums with like my buddy Nathan, with Giovanni.
But you personally recorded a lot of albums.
Yeah,
like as a musician and an engineer.
But I think the reason that one means so much is because of like both like the journey and the work put into it. Like we took it very seriously, but like we had fun.
Yeah.
And what was also cool is each one of us like grew in a different way. I mean, it was a learning experience for me because it was the first time I was like kind of like stepping out from behind the board.
Yeah.
And like being more of like a producer role.
Well, you know what's funny about that too? Sorry to
No.
keep cutting you off, but if you listen, even when you listen to the AP thing, and just us personally, one of the biggest topics that always comes up is we did this because it felt right, because it was our friends, and we all came up together. And realistically, it always kind of makes me giggle because we didn't know you.
Right.
And we met you while we're recording the Blue Album on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just kind of, we weren't even working with you.
Yeah.
You were there instead of the guy we were working with. But for some reason, it just meshed to the point where we're like, oh, here's the missing ingredient kind of thing. Even if it's just in a behind the scenes aspect, that it was never like, for guys that are always like, well, we can only do it with our friends, and it's only fun with our friends.
Right.
And then immediately this outsider becomes like just close with us.
Well, what was cool about it is, and I have no like problem saying it, is like your guys' music really isn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something I would normally
Turns out
listen
it's
to.
not most people's cup of tea.
But I was drawn to it to the point where, as I mentioned on the other podcast, like I went to a lot of your guys' shows.
Yeah.
And I kind of absorbed and like, and it wasn't a matter of like that I thought I could make it better, but like all these ideas were like flowing through my head, like especially when you guys were starting to play some of the newer songs
Yeah.
out live, and I was like, oh man, it would be so cool. And it wasn't even so much that I had anything to add to it. It was just, man, like under the right circumstances, this song could sound so good in the studio.
Yeah, I think you came in a good point too, because when we were recording the Blue Album, we were those, and this is not a dig by any means because I love the man dearly, but we were getting out of those younger songs.
Sure.
And we were finally finding our sound with Guy. And this is another one, like we said earlier, I would have loved to have seen what was next. Because the songs we were working on by the time we disbanded, I was so excited about. And the ones that we've been kicking around for the last 30, 40, 50 fucking years.
Yeah, I know, right? But, when we went in there, what was great about it is, from the Blue Album, like, everybody let their guard down. Like,
That's true.
You especially,
Yeah,
like,
I'm the hardest to work with.
yeah, but you super, like, opened up yourself to the possibilities, and like with different sounds, and like, and like, dude, it like, and not to say that it wouldn't have worked out if we hadn't, but like it just brought other things to life in a different way.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where I was when I was younger, or when we first worked together, I was probably more insecure because this is my job. It's the only thing I contribute.
Right.
I need to be in control of that. To whereas we worked together and I was less of a dick. It was like, no, we all want this to just sound the best it can.
Yeah. Or even like, and like, like even like Jay, like, I remember when I was like, what you should do? Like, add another floor tom.
Yeah.
Now, Jay at one point, and I could be wrong, probably maybe would have been the guy who was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
But he was open to it. And it turned out to like, just like those hits that he does in some of those songs.
Yeah.
Like, you could feel it.
Oh yeah, those are huge.
And I was also so happy that we were able to give Randy like the platform to like really like explore his vocals, and like, Eric was cool about, sending me home with the gear so we could spend time on it. And then of course he worked with him on like the harmonies and everything. Like, so just it's something like when you go back and listen to it, it's such a cool feeling to be like, wow, like we all like, you guys more obviously because you wrote them, but like we created this.
Yeah.
Like, and we know the origins of it.
That's true,
Guy's basement, my closet at my townhouse, like staying in a shitty Motel 6 and almost getting killed. Like, and it turned out to be that. And I mean, like, and let's be honest, like this is, 2010. So this is before we have, Pro Tools that we could use in the basement and decent mics, and like you guys spent very little, like you were so prepared, you guys knocked it out. I mean, most of your and Jay's tracks were done in one take.
So that's true. So we did the whole album in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
and we recorded together.
Yeah,
like you're saying Rage records live. Like we didn't record live, but Jay and I did.
Yeah, you guys. So I think what we did is, and this is like where it helped, is, we had a notebook that basically had every song in the BPM.
Yeah.
Right. And we had the scratch guitars, which were still pretty good takes. So when you guys were playing together, you had Guy's feed in your headphones.
That's true.
But it was his original take.
Yeah.
Which was just enough to give you that like feel.
Right.
So then when he went back, then he was able to lock into the performance you guys just gave, which was awesome. So
I prefer it that I feel like it would lose a lot if I had to like go back and play by myself with just the drum track. If I couldn't be in the room with Jay, I don't think I would give as good of a performance.
what song from a bass line writing standpoint are you most proud of on that record?
So there's 3 because some of them are just parts. The triplets in Infectious that you can't even hear on the album, but like I know they're there.
I think it depends. If you're wearing headphones, you can't.
That's true. Yeah, but they blend in, and they're designed to blend in.
Yeah.
That's what they're for. But if you can hear just the isolated bass track, I still can't believe that that's me popping those triplets with the thing. And then the bass line for -2, I really like. The bridge is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because it has that build up and then does this crazy thing that Jay and I wrote that weekend. That was not originally how that song kind of went. And same with what is it called? Evolution. Why do I always want to call it Masterpiece? Did we have a song called Masterpiece? No.
I think that was the alternative name.
Oh, that's what it was called before.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not ridiculous, but that's the weirdest bass line I've ever heard. Because the way it's played shouldn't, but it does.
It works.
Yeah,
That's a
it
great
sounds
song.
really good too. So, but that whole thing, like even the fire and stuff, all those things, because probably every one of those songs, except for the ones that guy wrote particularly, started with bass parts. Because we wrote like idiots. Like we would start with the bass line and then we would backtrack
That's
the other
why
way.
when we talked the other day, each one of you guys are an instrument. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and you could literally play me. Well, obviously, I listen to them a lot, but you could play me 3 seconds of any song, whether it's the drums, bass, guitar, and I'll know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But I would agree with that list. I -2 is definitely like one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
But I also love. Oh man, I don't think it's fire. The one with the.
Oh, yeah, that's Just the Tip.
Just the Tip.
Yeah,
Of course.
that's a really good one too.
I love that because for whatever reason that bass line always kind of reminds me of this one song in the Blues Brothers, like just the do 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 do, and it's not like it's super complicated, but like it's just so goddamn catchy.
It just kind of rips. Like it's so easy, but it makes you want to move too. I like that one.
That whole album like has a lot of songs that make you want to move. So for those listening, do yourself a favor, go listen to AP, The Angel and the Marble,
Yeah.
and enjoy it because it's enjoyable.
It is,
It is, and I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, I've definitely done jerking myself off though. It was amazing to do. I still wish we would put the Blue album online.
We should. There's still time.
Yeah.
You're
I mean, you throw $80 at it, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
That's
right?
all it
Yeah.
takes. All right. So next on my list, this is a more modern. I think this is 2007, 2008, somewhere in there.
Okay.
The Gaslight Anthem, who
Okay.
I absolutely love and fell in love with immediately when I found them. Sink or Swim is their first album. A lot of people will probably go with their second album, the 59 sound, which is probably where they definitely found their sound even tighter. But that first album is so good. Again, 100% of the songs are great. It's a very emotional album. Like I remember one of the, I think it's the second song, maybe the first track, but it starts and it's just like, give me mercy in a minute now. I'm gonna bleed a little poison out. And then later in the album, there's a song called 1930, and it's good luck listening to that, not having ball your eyes out. So you kind of get the gist of through this story, like that somebody is suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's and something, and like, you know, and he tells this amazing story through the vocals with it. But it's just like, it reminds me of my grandma who did that. It reminds me of Jason's mom when she was going through that as well. And it's like, it hits you really hard in the chest, because then at the end, after it's already told this beautiful story, and then it kind of shifts with the vocals to him talking about her perspective, where it's like, she would be saying, "I love you more than there's stars in the sky, but it's your name that escapes me tonight." And you're like, "Oh, god damn it." But that album, top to bottom, is absolutely beautiful. In all of their albums are. I would vouch for. I don't think there's a Gaslight Anthem song that I skip. They are all so good. But that first album just hit me so hard. And I can't, to be perfectly fair, that and the 59 Sound I found it the same day. And I'm like, it was like a twofer.
Okay.
But that first album is, when somebody can have that good of a first album, I'm like, god damn. Definitely listen to the Gaslight Anthem.
I've for sure heard their stuff, but I feel like they're probably in the same wheelhouse as like the Rise Against thing. You know, it's interesting. In the mid to late 2000s, around the time that I probably got more involved in like playing again and like music production, maybe by way of like looking for inspiration or whatever, I kind of started backtracking to like older music.
Yeah.
So I feel like I missed out on like the, say, like 2006 to 2010 era of new music.
That's funny because there's gonna be more of those.
Well,
there's some good music.
And
there.
ironically, the next album on my list is from 2009.
Oh, nice.
And actually is heavily influenced by you guys as well.
Oh no.
I don't know who. Yeah, are you
no, I'm good. What do you got?
So this is going to be my last one of the like that are specific for a reason, and this was my best produced / mixed album. And when I first heard this album, again, I'm not so sure I was totally into the music, but like sonically, because this was around the time like I was working with you guys, I was like, wow,
yeah,
like holy shit. So the album is what is it called? The Dredge, the Pariah and Delusion, and the Parrot, the Pariah and Delusion.
Yeah. Oh, like that's like their third album.
Yeah.
Really?
So Catch Without Arms.
Yeah.
Is probably a better album in terms of like listening for me.
Sure.
But this album, like, just the sound.
It does. Yeah, I can see that.
So freaking good.
You know what's funny? I forgot Dredge existed until just now.
Well, you guys kind of there's this other band that's very similar. It's called Ours, Ours. It's Jimmy, I forget his name, but he's like a multi-instrumentalist. It's beautiful stuff if you ever get a chance to listen. That was almost going to make it on the list, but and I remember because I was late in the game with Dredge. You guys turned me on to them. Yeah. So this album was probably the first that I listened to, but then I went back and listened to like Catch Without Arms and then the first one. Then I got super excited because they were coming out with a new one, and then it was shit.
I think that might have even been their fourth. I know they had Catch Without Arms, and was it Leitmotiv or something?
So Leitmotiv was the first one.
That is the first one? I didn't know if they had one before
then
that.
There was El Cielo.
Oh, that's right. That's the one. El Cielo, and then Catch Without Arms.
Then the Pariah.
So it is the fourth one.
Which, and then Chuckles and Mr. Squeezy.
Yeah. So that was funny because I actually didn't hate that album.
Okay.
And I remember a guy too who really liked Dredge was like, it's not that good. But I remember at least the first track that I at least identified with was like, I really like this song at least.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, to be fair, going down that boat, like, I mean, there's so many albums that we could do a whole episode on the albums I like for like the technical side, like the mixing, but that always stood out to me because I remember when I first listened to it, it was the first time I was ever like, well, maybe I'm not totally into like the music, but holy crap, like this was produced really, really well, and this sounds really, really good. So, That's on
makes
my
sense.
list. I mean, Radiohead's Kid A
Yeah.
was on there, but again, not one of my favorite Radiohead albums. But from
Sure.
a production standpoint, sonically, man, it's
I wish I could remember. There's only one Radiohead album I like, and I wish I could remember what it's called. 'Cause I have no idea.
The Bends, maybe.
The Bends?
Yeah, or OK Computer.
No, it's the one that isn't like this. It has like the song 2x2x2. I identify with it because I was spending a lot of time down in Carbondale with my friend Dana, and she had it on a record, and we would listen to it like when we were just chilling. And that was when I was really first exposed to like vinyl, and I was like, stuff does just sound so much better in vinyl. Like,
really
certain
does.
albums are just made for vinyl, in my
I
opinion.
wonder, was it In Rainbows, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds. No, that's not it. It was. I have no idea. I can't remember the name.
Hail
of,
to the Thief.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Hail to the Thief came out early 2000s. So like Pablo Honey and the Bends were more like their two first that had like Creep and
Right, and Creep's an amazing song still.
It was more of their like rock.
Hail to the Thief is very chill and airy. Like that's why I think why it works so well on vinyl, and it caught me off guard because I was expecting Creep, and I didn't like Kid A or OK Computer, so it threw me off when I first heard that. I don't even know how we got onto radio
Because we're songs that
it's that
mixed
Jason.
well. Because I remember the first time I heard Paranoid Android, and it was so weird.
Yeah.
But like when you got the headphones on and you hear things like moving around, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is really good.
That is crazy.
So that closes out my 5 that are specific.
And that was about Dredge, not Radiohead.
Correct. Dredge.
I'm actually excited because I'm going to listen to Dredge on the way home. When I said I forgot they existed, it wasn't like a dig. I genuinely was like, damn, I haven't listened to that in a long
Isn't
time.
that great when that happens?
It is.
It happens with me with movies sometimes.
Really?
Too.
Yeah.
I'll just forget about a movie. I'm like, oh, I want to watch that.
Yeah. I'm really excited actually to go back to El Cielo because we covered one of those tracks live, and it's one of my favorite songs. I'm excited to listen to that.
Good.
Great. So now my next one is the greatest hip hop album of all time.
Oh boy. Okay. So I got my hip hop. Man, the hip hop one I'm going to talk about for a while.
I'm excited to hear.
I'm going to do my. It doesn't matter what order. I'm going to do my hip hop after yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish it was the same album.
It won't be.
It won't be. But this is to me. So the Snoop Dogg album. That's a rap album, and it's like really splitting hairs there because at the time, it feels like a hip hop album.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I don't really care what you call it. But the best hip hop album of all time is Talib Kweli and Mos Def, Black Star.
Okay.
1998, which I can't believe how old this album is. And it is still so good. Talk about, message, storytelling. There's so much going on in this album. And it is just perfect from top to bottom. Again, every one of these on my list is perfect top to bottom, in my opinion. You could listen to this whole album. It's got fantastic Common's on it. Also, Common's amazing. Like, there's just so much to be said if you're willing to listen. And there's a lot going on, and it's just beautifully done. Again, drum and bass, like, this would be an interesting one for you to critique because there is parts that I think sonically maybe aren't mixed perfect because some of the drops overpower the vocals, which is, I would love to see a remaster of this album. I always get super stoked whenever a remaster of anything comes out, but I think it's just a sign of its time, late 90s. And the rest of it is still good enough to carry everything. But like, there's a particular song, "Player Haters," that has got like that bigger, deep bass drop constantly, and it can kind of overpower what else is happening. But please do yourself a favor and listen to Black Star by Talib and Mos Def. So good.
I'll do that. I mean, do you still listen to a lot of hip hop and rap?
Yeah, it's all old, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, same with me. I mean, I went down a super. So my journey with hip hop, there are a lot of like you ever listen to the Far Side?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, love the Far Side. Tribe Called Quest.
Oh yeah.
Pushnikins, Mob Deep. I mean,
Mobb
like,
Deep.
there are so many good ones out there, you know. But
Jurassic 5 is one I really
yeah,
like too.
I mean, and you know, this one may be a little bit cliche too, but it's because it stands for so many different things. So, like, you know, back in like what was it, 94, 95, like I heard Wu-Tang for the first time.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I do love Wu-Tang.
like when I heard Enter the 36 Chamber, I was like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah.
Like, it was so different. But surprisingly, that's not the album. So I went with Wu-Tang Forever.
That's great because so my favorite song is Triumph, which is on forever.
And that's
And like it's one of my favorite songs in general, not just for any genre.
I'm not going to do it. To this day, right here without the music,
Yeah.
could do Method Man's part.
Yeah.
And for me, first of all, the thing about Wu-Tang that was so great is that there was this whole like subculture, sub story to them, like with the use of like martial arts films from like, you know, Asia, and like the fact that like, you know, they basically like renamed like Staten Island like Shaolin, and like,
Yeah.
and not only that, but like when you've got that many people, but you can distinctively tell them apart like instruments. Like,
Yes.
oh, like that's Ghostface, like that's Inspector Deck, like that's Raekwon, like they're that unique. And like
Yeah.
when they, and like Triumph is probably one of the greatest songs ever,
Yeah,
because
I
each
agree.
one of their parts is, and I forget.
Talk about a story too. The content there is ridiculous,
Yeah.
and every verse is just as important as the last one and the next one, and it's so
forget
well done.
Whose line it was, but I was just watching, so I just went down a huge rabbit hole with this, like not a few nights ago when I was getting this together and like watching like performances and stuff, and they had an interview with Method Man, and he was talking, and I don't know if it was Ghostface's verse where he's like, I bomb atomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses, like, and when you listen
That's
to
how
it's
it
like,
starts.
it's like, oh, is it the first one?
Yeah, I bomb
I was
atomically.
like, and I was like, when you're older now, right? And you know, when we talked about this a little bit the other day, I was never lyric like singing. I was always like attached to the hook and the beats and whatever. But now that I'm older, I mean, like, it was poor Randy. It was just like a year and a half ago that I realized he wrote good lyrics. You know what I mean?
That is
Because
funny.
I never really just paid attention.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude, he writes some good shit.
Yeah.
But now it's funny when I listen to hip hop now and I hear like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention.
If you have the privilege to hear a song like Triumph, though, when you focus on lyrics in the first place, it's such a reward to be like, holy Christ, these guys are amazing. Because like there's so much said in that song,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that we were talking about. Like, I think some of that is lost, and I'm not gonna sit here and be like the old guy and say like it doesn't exist anymore. I might just not be seeing it. You know, it might be stuff that's not for me these days. But at least like what's popular on the radio, you've never seen anything like that on the radio.
And not only that, but like, you know, Wu-Tang's not exactly known for being like, you know, the Will Smiths of the rap world in terms of like using like clean language, but that song is not riddled with references to drugs or violence or women. Like, I mean, like, it's some deep shit.
No, they have an actual
It's like a
agenda and
story.
stuff to say.
I mean,
Killer
like-
bees, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
ODB I think is like the only one who really does anything.
But you know, it's funny. Like when I was going down this rabbit hole, like I listened to part of his album.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and then like, you know, of course, like it went. You know, I mean, do you listen to Smartless podcasts at all? So Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes.
Mm-mm.
So they're three actors, and
Yeah.
during COVID, they had a COVID baby, and like the dude, like they just got signed to Sirius for like probably more money than they've ever made making movies.
Nice.
But they've had everybody on there, and they just had RZA on there.
Nice.
And you know, he's kind of the unofficial like leader, you know,
Sure.
of the Wu-Tang. But like he was going on to like, I mean, like how many platinum albums he's produced as the result of Wu-Tang?
Yeah.
How
Mhm.
many of them went on to have platinum albums?
Yeah, because every one of them has solo albums.
And then of
That's
course,
not even kind of like what they've produced or been part of. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane.
and then Method Man, you know, his relationship with Redman,
yeah,
you know, and the Def Squad, like, I mean, like, it was, everything was so interconnected back then.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was just so cool.
yeah. That is
It
so
was,
cool.
it was hip hop in like the 90s, man, was just, I mean, you had your, the Snoop Dogg stuff, that like the stuff you could play at parties. Like, not that you couldn't play Wu-Tang at a party, but like that's more for like listening,
Yeah, I would compare it actually to, that's a perfect segue into my next album, because of what you just said. In this is kind of the band that really started making me pay attention to lyrics in general, is because my next album is No Control by Bad Religion. Because you can't just sit here and vibe on Bad Religion. Like, I need to see the lyrics. Jay and I, every time a new Bad Religion album came out, I remember we would go to the store, each buy a copy, and we would go sit in the living room because Paulie had an awesome sound system, and we would sit there and read the lyrics together while we were listening to the new album, because we wanted to understand what was being said. Like, I'm really good at listening to lyrics and hearing them, but I wanted to make sure, because I've had to look up so many words from a Bad Religion album, but it ties right in with what you're saying with Wu-Tang. You can't just vibe at a party. You're gonna want to sit and listen to this. You're gonna want to hear what's being said, because it's an important story. And Bad Religion is the same thing, where to me I got into them later in life because they've been doing it since before I was born. But the No Control is I want to say 87, 89. It's an older album. It's got my favorite song on it, and the whole album's good. All of their albums are amazing. They don't write bad songs. You're gonna need a dictionary because you're gonna be looking up a lot of stuff.
I mean, he's a very
yeah, that's true. He's a very smart guy.
Isn't he like graduated from like MIT or some shit?
He's a professor also.
Yeah.
He's got a doctorate in biology. But aside from that, honestly, if you can find the few rare tracks that Jay Bentley has written, they're even more like dense than what Greg writes. It's insane. But it is there's a song on there, I can't even remember what it's called at this point. It doesn't really matter. But on the No Control album, they have these, it's almost like an existential crisis, where it's like, I am just an atom in an ectoplasmic sea without direction or a reason to exist. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man, what are you doing to me? Then the next line is like, the anechoic nebula rotating in my brain is persuading me contritely to persist.
Yeah, he's
like, dude,
some crazy lyrics. I still love listening to them, but yeah, there was a point in time where it was very like them, Helmet, Deftones.
Yeah,
like there was that period that I listened to Bad Religion a lot, like right around my skate days, which kind of segues into my album that I'll call. So this is like so we did hip hop, so punk. So I also listened to like really early Green Day. So we used to go see them at shows when they were still on Lookout Records, touring out of their van.
Yeah.
So I'm talking like Kerplunk and like 1039, and that kind of opened us up, to the, because again, this is before Dookie, so like they're not big or anything. So if you listen to them, but this band only came out with one album, but it's Operation Ivy.
Oh, that's funny. I was just reading about them last night. I did not realize they only had one album and were only around for like 3 years.
Yep. It's called Energy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the soundtrack of like my skating days. You know what I mean? Even though there were a lot of bands that Screeching Weasel and Rancid and Dead Kennedy, like a whole bunch of it, but like that album, and I think probably part of it is the fact that it was just one album.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, like mysterious, like they come in, they make one really like great album, and then they're just gone.
You talk about staying power. It's one thing for like a Snoop Dogg who's had a 40-year career, but like to put out one album in the 80s and it's still like relevant.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's a great album. And then like, it's spawned a whole bunch of different band, like this band called Seaweed, but then it kind of did branch me out into the kind of like the edgier, like quote unquote punk stuff, like Helmet and Bad Religion and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a great time for music, man. It's no wonder that we're stuck in there's no shock that we're stuck in this era because it was fucking great.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I think every era is great. I think in 20 years I'll look back at this era still and be like, because there's still bands now that I. One of the things that I like about myself and Jason, my best friend, is my best friend. Just so you know, is
He's my best friend.
we constantly are listening and finding new music.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually you kind of hit a certain age and you're like, even if you're not set in your ways, you're kind of like, this is what I listen to,
Sure.
and it's kind of what you are emotionally attached to as you came up. But there's always like new stuff. Like we branch out into every single genre. Like there's nothing off limits. Like even stuff like the newer stuff now is we were listening to Sierra Farrell, who's just blowing up now and is huge. We listened to her for the last 10 years, and she's an amazing country star that's like a throwback to Patsy Cline. The Red Clay Strays, like you would never think that we'd be listening to like this. There's been a resurgence of like, I would hesitate to even call it country. It's called Western, but it's like it's got this punk rock attitude, but it's like Western music.
It's funny you mentioned. So my daughter's really into country. I'm not. I mean, I can dig some like like old like Johnny Cash stuff like that, but like the Dierks Bentleys and
Yeah, I can't get into
do it.
the
But
Dierks, but I'm
there's
getting into
this-
some Garth Brooks and some Brooks and Dunn,
yeah.
old school stuff.
There's
Alabama.
this guy. There's this guy named Stephen Wilson Jr.
Yeah.
Check him out. He's been featured in a bunch of stuff, and like it's like he did this live like 3-song show at the print shop, and it's on YouTube, and like his musicianship and energy and it's country, and I can't stop listening to it, man.
Yeah.
But there's there's been some bands I've gotten really into that are, I guess now it could be going on 10 years, but like Royal Blood and Highly Suspect,
Yeah.
they're definitely, but I do have a harder time really getting into some of the newer stuff just because there's still so much older stuff that I haven't even discovered yet.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, even the newer stuff, I'm not ashamed to, because I have things that I think are, what's it called? When you want people to know you listen to it. I'm brain farting all day today. Guilty pleasure.
Oh, guilty. Okay.
So I always thought oh, Meatloaf was my guilty pleasure, but no, I love Meatloaf, and Meatloaf is amazing. Saint Clown Posse is my guilty pleasure. I don't want anybody to know about that. But the latest Taylor Swift album is so good.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Everyone's going to have their guilty pleasures.
Sure.
And from a music writing standpoint,
I didn't know she was such a good writer.
yeah.
Because I never listened to anything up till this album. And it's the first one where I was like, I'm going to give it a try. She's been around forever now. She's obviously knows what she's doing. I want to hear what the fuss is about. And I started, reading the lyrics and listening to the stuff and analyzing like I would anything else. And I was like, damn, she does have something to say. It is important. And the stuff around it is really good.
Yeah. There's what do they call? But I remember when I had heard a cover, and this was a long time ago, early 2000s. It was and it was playing, and it was one of those moments where I was like, I know this song, but it was so different that I was like, wait a second, I don't know who this is. And then finally I realized, I'm like, oh shit, this is Britney Spears.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was Baby Hit Me One More Time, but it was an acoustic, almost rock cover.
Yeah. I'll say, was it you and Gio? Because I've heard that.
No, and it was that was not Toxic. We covered something at
I remember
but
what it was. Toxic is my favorite song.
when
of
I
hers,
heard this acoustic cover, and I was like, when a song could be played in any genre and still be catchy,
Yeah.
it's a hit. I saw there's this YouTube channel, kind of like Drumeo, it's called, music, whatever. Bands will come in and do their own spin on a popular song. So there's these twin sisters called Fiona or something. They're these two blonde, kind of folk guitar players.
Yeah.
They cover System of a Down. God, what's the song? Not Chop Suey. What's another one of their popular songs?
I have no idea.
Um,
I only know their first album.
but when they covered it, I was just like, I was so blown away
Yeah.
by like just how different it sounds, and like it's that I don't know if you go down a rabbit hole like that of listening to like covers.
So I am
And by covers, I don't mean like, because sometimes covers are just a carbon copy, right?
sure.
More of
No,
an
no, no.
interpretation.
I would say there's two channels that I prescribe to on YouTube that are 100% what you're talking about. One is Robin Adele Anderson. I think her last name is Anderson. But she is an unbelievable singer, and she takes popular songs and does them in a whole different genre.
Right.
Like usually it's more big band swing 20s 50s like, and it's so cool.
Oh wait, so do they perform it live and they're
Yeah.
even dressed the part?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So they and I believe, I don't know if I can't remember, but she's doing that on her own. And then there's Postmodern Jukebox, which does the same thing. They're a huge big channel that probably everybody's heard of, but they do the same thing. To whereas Robin Adele does it on her own, and she's an incredible singer. Like, definitely check out Robin Adele on YouTube. She's fantastic.
Yeah, I love covers. Like and like different interpretations of songs. It's so
Yeah.
cool sometimes.
It is really cool. Like I think it's I'm always impressed by the musicianship because it's already tough for me to learn a cover. I couldn't imagine them being like, all right, I'm going to change the whole arrangement.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll make it easier actually, because it's like it's at that point it's like a whole different song.
Oh yeah, totally. But just enough of the original for you to be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, the hook's
Yeah, you can
there.
still hear it in there. Yeah, that is awesome.
So somehow we went from punk music to that. That's what's great about these
Yeah.
conversations.
Well, you think like, oh, this is going to be a streamlined episode. They're talking about one thing,
Yeah,
and
no.
we still are
Sorry,
managing to
guys.
find every pocket within that one thing. But yeah, the point is, listen to Bad Religion, listen to Operation Ivy, listen to punk rock. There's so much good punk rock out there, and that's I think one of the things too is like they're still making good. A lot of those bands are still around, but there's a lot of still like today good punk rock bands today that people aren't listening to. But going on to the next one, this is a tough one to, just like Bad Religion was tough to find an album. This next one is Bayside.
Okay.
Bayside is like my favorite band. Also, this is tough because this is also the spot where Alkaline Trio should be in, and I didn't put them on the list, and it hurts my heart that Alkaline Trio is not on this list. But I put Bayside in instead, and I'm putting their self-titled album, which is their second album.
Okay.
But every one of their albums is uncomfortably good. The content is like, I have fond memories of this too. Like I remember, if anybody listened to the episode I did with Nikki, one time somebody was driving us somewhere in a van. And there was like 6 of us packed in this van, being taken to some other like 4 a.m. bar somewhere else, and we were just belting this album. Like all of us just singing on the top of our lungs, singing this album. So it's got a lot of good memories in general, and just the content is so good. Like if you've ever had any kind of heartbreak, or because a lot of stuff I listen to isn't like, or stuff that we've talked about so far isn't necessarily heartbreak. Like Korn is a lot of trauma, upbringing and stuff like that. A lot of political stuff. Snoop Dogg is just fun. Like Gaslight Anthem starts touching on some of that, but also like self-improvement stuff more than necessarily heartbreak, and kind of like trying to be a better person. They also have songs about music, and I've noticed like listening to a song about how much they love music is so cool. Like it's one of the things that I really like. And Bayside is like just straight up like heart-wrenching songs that are just so good, where you're like, why am I like this? Why can't somebody like me? I try not to spend too much time there because I don't want to take it seriously. I just want to enjoy it for what it is. But grab any Bayside album and put it in, and it is phenomenal from top to bottom. I think this one wins out too because there's a particular song on there where they're talking about, I mean, like you said, they're all good, but the song I remember singing in the van is a song where the premise is like he's seeing this girl, but she's still in a relationship. So it's like, nothing like hanging out with your girlfriend and sending her home to her boyfriend. And like just the emotional discourse that comes with that, and how much that like will fuck you up. And I'm like, because I've lived that, and it sucks. So like it's that's an album that kind of shifted my whole musical taste. I fucking love Bayside.
I'm gonna have to check. I want to say this is the first band that you've mentioned that I'm not really familiar with.
Really?
I recognize the name.
Sure.
And I'm willing to bet there's a strong possibility if I play one of their more popular songs,
Yeah.
I'll recognize it, but I really don't know much about them.
I think you would like them a lot. I mean, they're a really good rock band in general. But I think if you start like it's these older stuff that is like raw, so I think talk about like night and day. By the time you start getting into these newer albums, the production is so much better. And it's just mixed better. Like it sounds better. In fact, this album I just mentioned this year, a couple months ago, they just released a single. The first, what's the second track technically, but off of that album, remixed in 2025, and it's so different and sounds phenomenal, and it's so cool to kind of hear the contrast of both. But yeah, definitely.
When did they come out? Like when were they?
2000.
Okay.
Early 2000s, maybe 2003. That album, this is their second album. So actually, they made it come out in 2004 with their first album, and then this is probably closer to 2005.
So, like, I mean, would it be like, were they coming around like the same time as like, and I hate labeling like scenes, but like around like the Taking Back Sunday, Hawthorne Heights kind of like era of music?
They definitely came through in a particular scene, in MySpace days also.
Right. Yeah.
But they stood out. At least to me, they stood out, and they've endured in a way that a lot of those other bands necessarily didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. And the musicianship's there. Like you'll hear it immediately. Like you're like, oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out.
And the lyrical content, like I said, is second to none. I put them. That's why I'm sad that Alkaline Trio is not on there here, because there's not a better writer metaphorically than Matt Skiba. Like Alkaline Trio is in a class all their own of how he writes lyrics. The content of his writing is just insane. It's so good. Like an Alkaline Trio album will change your life.
Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with them for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to check out Bayside. That's a good one. So my next would be like, I guess we want to call it metal or whatever, which is a genre that I'm typically not super drawn to. I appreciate, bands like, Pantera and stuff, but I never really got into them.
Right.
But one band that, and still to this day, that has always kind of piqued my interest, and I always kind of wanted to hear what they were doing, is Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh yeah.
So Waken the Fallen, which is one of their older albums,
Yeah.
like was the first kind of like metal album that I listened to that I didn't just hear noise. Like there's this one song in particular called Chapter 4, and it's got this breakdown, this bridge that has these like, I mean, he does have a scream in there, but it has these harmonized guitars, and it's just like, it kind of makes me cry when I hear it.
Yeah.
Like it's the song that like I want playing on repeat at my funeral, like
Wow,
just
yeah.
to make people sad,
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's just what's really cool. So they all kind of had like pseudonyms like for names. Like so
Yeah.
the Rev, Jimmy Sullivan, was their drummer, who sadly died in like 2010 or something.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like the God, I hate to say it, but kind of like the Lars of, like, he wrote most of the music
Right.
as a drummer.
Yeah.
But he couldn't play the guitar and shit. But he kind of knew how to play the piano.
Right.
So he would like draw up these ideas on the piano, then show them to the guitarist, which the guitarist Sinister Gates is fucking unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And what's cool is like, they're still writing music, and they did a short stint with Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, where he kind of like, but their drummer for a while now is Brooks Wackerman, who played with
Bad Religion for a while.
Yeah, he's been their drummer for like
He's
10
he
years
not with
now.
Bad Religion anymore?
No,
Oh wow, he's a really good drummer.
dude, he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
And it's cool watching him play because like it's so effortless, but he's got like it's kind of funny because he really doesn't fit in the band. Like, I don't think he's got any tattoos. He's got like
didn't fit in
blonde
Bad
surf
Religion
boy
either.
hair. Yeah.
but he's insane.
But it's cool when you see like drummers kind of like cross over and like different things.
Yeah.
There's this kid, and I'll be the first to admit that originally he kind of just really annoyed the shit out of me. His name's like Grayson something or other. He was heavily featured on YouTube because he's like a jazz player, kind of straight out of the reason he probably gained popularity was that movie Whiplash.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And he's that kind of drummer.
Sure.
But right now he's touring with Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh wow.
Which I think is fucking awesome because
Yeah.
it's like because he's probably like loving it because he gets to like let loose. But it's just
He's playing with them?
he's touring with him. Yeah,
Wow, yeah. I mean, it reminds me too of like, so I love when musicians are able to kind of flex a lot of different creative muscles because we all love more than one thing.
yeah.
Like
totally, dude.
Josh Freese is always, like, oh my God, this guy's
He's been,
everywhere.
Who hasn't he played?
Well, exactly. Like when I sit down and listen to the Vandals, whom I love, and I'm like, this is the same dickhead who's traveling the world with every band ever and just killing it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think me and a lot of people secretly feel like he got kicked from the Foo Fighters because he was too good.
Yeah.
But no, he's a ridiculously good drummer. There's a lot of like drummers out there who are like, kind of in the same boat, like Foo Fighters, like Taylor Hawkins, like used to play with Alanis Morissette
Right.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Like so, a lot of these drummers have some rich. But Avenged Sevenfold is just like, I don't hear noise. Like there's so much beauty in their music for as like hardcore as it is, and like that album's.
I think they walk a beautiful line though, where they have some really heart-wrenching songs that are so
100%
well written, and then they also will turn around and have these really ripping metal songs.
And I love like kind of like with like Corey Taylor. I love like when a guy can like go back and forth between like a voice and a scream, and like M Shadows has a great scream, but he has a really good singing voice too.
Dallas Green, bud.
Yeah, another one of the bands, I'll just throw them in here really quick because it's definitely a band I never thought I would listen to, but I get wrapped up like with headphones listening to it, is Lorna Shore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the music, like I can't understand a fucking word he's saying, but like the music, it's so like theatrical and like it's like something you would hear like in a movie trailer.
Right.
That's the same with one of the instrumental songs that I love. That's the other thing that I get really into is instrumentals. Is The Bird and the Worm by the Used.
Yeah.
The instrumental version I could listen to every day.
Wow. Yeah.
It is. There's so many things going on in that song. There's strings, there's piano, there's just triangles, there's xylophone. Like there's so many things. And when you take the vocals out of it, you hear it all, and you're like, wow, this thing is like should be used for movie trailer. And then sure enough, like one day I'm watching TV and they use it for like Clash of the Titans or some shit.
Yeah. That's funny. Do you listen to classical music?
I'll listen to, not that I know who it is, but
Right.
a lot of times when I'm working and stuff, I'll listen to either like blues or jazz or like classical.
Yeah.
Just something that I can like zone out to.
Yeah, so something more chill. Because I say like the Brandenburg concertos are some of my favorite classical pieces. That's not something you're gonna zone out and chill to though.
Well,
They're wild.
One of the albums I'll come to, we'll touch a little bit on classical.
Nice,
in
really?
In a weird way, yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting. So next, we're scooting right along, aren't we? Oh, also, when you mentioned Taylor playing with Alanis Morissette, one of my honorable mentions is Jagged Little Pill. What an uncomfortably amazing album.
It's a really good album.
Like, and that, I feel like our generation in general, like if that album is probably across the board more than any other album we've talked about, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, that's a perfect album.
It's so good.
Yeah, and Flea played the bass on that,
Yes.
which is crazy. Because I don't know if you listen to the song, "You Ought to Know," it just sounds like this amazing anthem, and it's well written and it's beautiful, and it's aggressive and awesome. Put on some headphones and listen to the bass line and get uncomfortable because the bass line did not need to be sounding like that.
Yeah.
It did not have to go that hard. And I feel like every time whoever's like the touring musician or if ever in the band is like, did this dickhead really write this bass line like this? Why?
That's the thing I miss from like back in the day was the collaborations that you didn't know happened.
Yeah.
You know, like Eddie
Dude,
Van
Kerry
Halen.
King from Slayer on the Beastie Boys.
Yeah. Eddie Van Halen on Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
God, there's so many. God, when you said last, it made me think of somebody, but now I can't think of like who it is that was playing. Somebody that was playing bass on an album, but yeah, the collaborations are something, and they probably still happen, but like we're just not as like familiar with them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like how many times Dave Grohl's played on like a Queens of the Stone Age album,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm sure Flea's done more.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
like
sure.
Chad played drums on some like Dua Lipa song
Yeah.
that like hit it big in the radio. I was like, what? I didn't know that. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy. That's cool. So I always dreamed of like, I think it's even when I look back, I'm like, I don't think I ever really cared about like getting famous or doing anything like huge with the band. I liked, just writing and performing at whatever level, but I always wanted to be like a studio musician. Like somebody that would just like, I work for this studio, and if you're just coming like you could go, I'm a singer-songwriter, you have the band at the studio, right? You can build it around. And most, like especially when I see what Eric can do, this guy can throw a band behind anybody in a second. Yeah. So I always wanted to be like the guy who's in the back pocket, be like, oh yeah, I've got an in-house bass player, and just play on everything. That would have been awesome. That would be awesome. My next life, that's what I'm gonna probably do. But all right, my next album is No Use for a Name, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And I came to them so late. And the album is Hard Rock Bottom, and this was a tough album.
So they were more punk from like the 90s, right?
They're very punk, yes. And I think this album's from 2000, but I think I got into them with the Feel Good album of the year, which is like 2003. But man, first off, they're amazing in general. Tony Sly is incredible, and he's no longer with us for a long time now. But this is another one where now you've got a punk rock album on the same level where it's got something to say. Like there's good content as far as a message. There's good content as far as like living on the road and being brokenhearted, starting a family, wanting to be there for your family, not being able to be there for your family. Like there's so much inner turmoil and inflection and like just looking at yourself and putting it out there in such a raw way, surrounded by all this like fast guitar and like ridiculously ripping music. But he doesn't sing aggressive. Tony Sly doesn't sing aggressive or loud. It's got this almost like I love the Bouncing Souls as well. It's similar where there's craziness going around, but he's very focused and to the point and telling you something very personal around this chaos. And it's just, it's such an emotional album, like, cause it's so, it's like hard to explain when you hear it. You're just like, man, you just feel like you're in touch with it as it's playing, and it starts immediately, and it's so good, and it holds you the whole album until that last thing, like just zones out, and you're like, man, that was an experience.
You ever listen to Pennywise?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't dislike Pennywise. He sings very similar to that as well, like where ridiculousness and stuff like that. But I tend to, I don't dislike Pennywise. I tend to gravitate towards other things more.
What? How do you feel about NoFX?
NoFX, I love NoFX. I wanted to put NoFX on here because NoFX, The Decline. So The Decline is my gateway into punk rock, because in high school I was a metalhead and hated punk rock because I didn't know any better. And surprisingly, out of all the punk rock kids I'm friends with, it was a fellow metalhead, my friend Dana, who was like, "You should listen to NoFX," and she gave me The Decline. And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. Where do I get more? And it was awesome because she went to school in SIU. Like I said earlier, I spent a lot of time down there, and there was the copyrights. She was friends with the copyrights, who are a huge famous band on Fat Records now, that tour. But they were going to college back then, and we would see them like every night, just playing at random houses and like just shattering beer bottles all over the floor back in the day. And so that really helped also to kind of be part of that, wanting to be part of that scene, and like opened me up to listening to a lot more punk rock. And No Use for a Name is where I feel like I plugged in and like, this is my favorite band in general. I just absolutely adore these guys. I'm sad to say that Jason and I were on our way to see them once, and we were in the Tracker, and the Tracker died right as we were about to get on the highway up there on Deal in 59. So we never got to see them, which is just a tragedy. But yeah, I love No Use for a Name, and Hard Rock Bottom is the flag I plant as far as my favorite album, but there is not a bad album.
Yeah, no, they're good. It's kind of a funny story related to the No Effects, though. As I mentioned earlier, I follow a lot of different YouTube people, and one of the guys I kind of got into was this dude who's a lineman up in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's a super dangerous job, and just like the craft is really interesting, like just the knowledge that you have to have so you don't fucking blow yourself up, right? Well, you know, the name of his channel is Bob's Decline.
Oh,
and
nice.
So like one day I'm just like, I'm like, hey, what's the name mean? He's like, so there's this No Effects song called it. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, how weird is that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, Fat Mike, like a lot of people don't like him, but like, I mean,
I like them. I tend to.
they've done a lot of stuff for that music scene.
Sure, yeah. And but one of the things I like is they've done it all on their terms also.
100%.
And I think that's admirable and like hard to copy.
Yeah.
They've been doing that since the late 80s, and it's still like Bad Religion's like the only one that's kind of copied the formula. And then it was easy. I think my friend Dana was smart to start me with No Effects, because I think the first album besides The Decline I had was So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes, which is very much a ska album. Like there's a lot of horns in it and stuff like that, and I love horns. So like, and who doesn't love ska music? Like it just kind of gets you up, and it's just punk rock with horns.
Yeah.
So it's easy then to go to the next thing, because from there it's a simple step to Less Than Jake, Real Big Fish, and then you start getting this other stuff, and you take those horns away, and it just sounds awesome.
Yeah. So my second to last album, I guess I would categorize it in like the rock alternative, whatever you want to call it. And I was going to mention them earlier because you kind of touched on it with Rage, and you were asking, you kind of mentioned how like, for some reason, some people just don't like them. They don't get it. Well, I think the reason being is, or at least one of the reasons it's very similar to this band, is their songs lack the radio friendly hook. Right, that a lot of people search for. Right, people want that sing along or that uplifting hook in the core, whatever you may be. But like, and again, not to sound snobby, but someone like you or I can hear music differently.
Right,
we hear different things. So I've always and always will be a massive fan of the Pixies. Some people don't get it.
Yeah,
they just don't understand it, and big reason is very, very, very few of their songs have a hook. They're just not structured that way.
Yeah.
But their album Doolittle,
right,
is just a fucking masterpiece. There's, Number 13, Baby, Hey, like there's so many good songs on it, and for that matter, Surfer Rosa is a great album. Their one album, Trompe Le Monde, which came out right before they broke up, gets kind of a lot of hate, but I actually love that. And they're one of those bands that kind of like it's happening today where social media or like shows are reviving bands. Like, not that like Metallica needed any help, but like when their song was featured in Stranger Things, it's like, reaches a whole new generation.
Yeah.
Or you have
Running Up the Hill.
Right. Like that. Could you imagine her sitting around one day and getting a residual check for and she's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, but that's kind of cool.
It is
that
cool.
Can happen for somebody. But
in that vein, I watched, so I love, this is a band that's slowly, recently becoming a huge thing for me. Is Florence and the Machine.
Okay.
I never really listened to them before, but I've managed to find a couple of specific tracks where I'm like, damn, I really, really like this. And I've been slowly exploring their catalog. And one of their bigger songs is Dog Days or like Dog Days or whatever.
Right.
And it's at the end of the third Guardians of the Galaxy film. And she didn't know that. Because obviously you go through legal to get song usage.
Yeah.
So when they watched it, there's a video of her watching it. And then as like the ending is like this amazing uplifting scene after this trauma dump for 2 hours.
Right.
And it comes on and she's like bawling her eyes out because it's so cool to see your song in there. And it's like you said, the same thing where like the resurgence can come out of nowhere for any song.
Yeah. And what was cool is like, you know, they're one of those bands that like either people haven't heard of, they've heard of, but they just don't get it. But, you know, when you talk to like or see interviews with like Kurt Cobain, David Bowie, Tom York from Radiohead, like they'll reference the Pixies.
Yeah.
And like
I'm embarrassed to say I've never listened
heavily
to the
influenced by the Pixies
ever.
And they were only together from like 88 to 93.
Wow.
And then they put out like 4 albums that were all fucking great, then broke up. Then in like 98 or whatever year it was, this movie called Fight Club comes out. And at the end of the movie, there's this song called Where's My Mind? And all of a sudden, it's just like, who is this band?
So I would have had to have heard that.
Like, who is...
I don't remember it.
If you heard the song, you'd know.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what's that song at the end of Fight Club? Now, this is before internet and stuff, so...
Sure.
But huge, like, resurgence for them to the point where I'm not going to say that was the reason they got back together, but because they really didn't get back together until 2004.
Yeah.
But they're still putting out albums, still together to this day. And it's crazy, too, because kind of like Metallica, like, when I think of Metallica, I think of Jason Newsted, right? But Rob has been their bass player for like twice as long as Jason has been. But it still feels like he's their new bass player. Whereas like the Pixies now have been together longer in this iteration of them than the original, even though it still doesn't feel, you know, it's weird how that stuff works. But the Pixies, dude, like, I can understand why some people wouldn't enjoy it, and I don't want to say that it's only a musician's band, because I don't think that's true. But when I listen to their music, dude, like, especially with headphones on, like, it takes you to a different place because it's not set up the way, it's not verse chorus bridge chorus.
Yeah.
It's all very different, and they're all like super talented, especially Joey Santiago, the guitar player. I do miss Kim Deal on bass. So Kim Deal famously went on to form the Breeders.
Oh, nice.
Who Cannonball? I'm sure you're familiar with that song, and
I'm sure
it's got that do 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 do.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's in the States so much. It's a staple of early '90s.
Yeah. So she went on to form that, and then she kind of came back with the Pixies for a little bit, but then she left. I mean, but the core group, 3 out of the 4 are still around, but they'll always be. Now, they're not my go-to listen to all the time. It has to be like a specific mood.
Yeah.
But man, they're awesome. I love me some Pixies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I saw them live
nice.
at the Rave Eagles Club in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I love the Rave.
Dude, like, they were so good live.
Yeah, I saw the Wu-Tang Clan at the Rave.
Nice.
I meant to mention that.
I saw Wu-Tang at Tinley.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Cypress Hill.
That's a great show. So, but, like, Tinley is Tinley. Like, seeing a band or a group like that with all of the members at the Rave, this tiny little club, that was crazy. And that was a free show. When I worked at Guitar Center, we used to the Rave would send us tickets. So we had every single show the Rave put on, we had free tickets to.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome.
What's your, because I think we're getting to our last album. What's your favorite venue that you've seen a show at?
The House of Blues is really good. This is a tough one. Park West is a very, very tiny little like club.
I saw K-Flay at Park West.
Really?
Yeah.
So, because I feel like it's not usually thought of as like a Chicago venue. It is, but it's very small. And Jay and I were lucky enough to see Ziggy Marley there.
Okay. Kind of gives like almost like 80s club vibes.
It does.
Like,
But like, I don't know if it was just because that experience was a life-changing musical experience for Jay and I together. You could probably even argue that was, we were already playing together, but that was probably how we became musical soulmates, is by sharing that experience. Because like there's a couple of pivotal things in our life, where there's our life before that Ziggy Marley show, and then there's our life after. There's our life before WrestleMania 18. There's our life after, because we went to WrestleMania 18 live in Canada. And that was, Park West is one I really, really like. I don't, also the Metro. I love the Metro. I really liked the Double Door. Reggie's is probably actually my favorite.
okay.
I love Reggie's. And we played there a couple times.
Yeah. I would go, if we're going to stick it to Chicago, I would say.
I don't think I've been to one out in Toronto. We saw Bad Religion. Or not Toronto. No, it is Toronto, yeah. In Canada, we saw, at that same, for WrestleMania 18, we were free that Friday, and Jay and I managed to go see Bad Religion in Less Than Jake locally as well.
I would say either the Vic or the Riv.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like the smaller, kind of more intimate. There's also this place called like the Chop House or Chop Shop.
Yeah.
It's basically in the back of like a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's where Giovanni, rest in peace, and I saw K-Flay. It was the last concert him and I went to together. It was really, the sound was really good, but it was really small. It was probably like 500 capacity.
Yeah.
But yeah, the smaller places I like. I mean, I do like the Metro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like maybe even the Vic might take the top spot.
Yeah, I tend to like smaller venues. That's why I like Reggie's. Reggie's is tiny.
Yeah.
Well, there's two sides to Reggie's also. Like, there's the small side and then there's the tiny side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's also a shower and a basketball on the roof.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I mean, I mean, like obviously I've seen plenty of concerts at like United Center and stuff.
see, I won't go to shows like that.
I well, trust me, like if it was my choice, I wouldn't. But
Well,
sometimes,
sure, yeah.
If that's where they're playing, that's where they're playing. Like,
Well, so go spoiler. My number one, my top thing here is Red Hot Chili Peppers.
okay.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and that kind of leads into that. They do not play small shows. I do not like going to big venues like that because it doesn't sound good. Now, I 100% get why people go, and you definitely feel like you're part of the show no matter where you are. Like, it shakes the whole building, and that's great. But I feel like we're, if you haven't been able to tell over the last 2 hours, we're a bit of like audiophiles. Like, we like sound, and you and I very much listen to with headphones as much as possible.
Absolutely.
So I can't justify paying that much to go to a show that isn't going to sound that good. I'd rather watch a live thing that's been mixed or just listen to the album. So it's hard for me to justify, and I mean just in big venues. I haven't gotten a long time to shows in general, but I like small venues where you can like get shoulder to shoulder with people and stuff like that and have a good time and feel like you're part of a little family. But those big shows I just can't get behind. And I've never heard one that has like really good sound. Like the recording they released does, because going into a board and being mixed. But being there, I feel like isn't. And really the only one I've done is the Family Values Tour in '99. My first concert was that was a huge arena. And like I said, it was awesome. And we were like in like the front row before like the pit area, because I don't, But
unfortunately, this place is just acoustically, built for that, right?
Well, so that's what's weird to me though. Is so like, I thought I was gonna make it this whole show without making a wrestling reference, but I'm going to, because Chicago is one of most wrestlers' favorite place to perform, because they usually go to the United Center, and it's one of the few buildings that still has a wooden roof. So the acoustics are way different than anywhere else. So I feel like we probably have one of the better sounding places in the country, because everything just feels louder and it just feels like there's more of it because it's bouncing different.
For a bigger venue, I will agree. Like the United Center has decent sound for
Yeah.
a big place. But I mean, yeah. Were you ever able to see the Chili Peppers at a smaller venue, or by the time you got into them, they were?
I
too
saw them
big?
at Tinley Park.
Okay.
So which again, like, and that's another one. I don't like that venue because it's outside
Yeah.
and you're
Outdoor.
sitting in the lawn.
Yeah.
Like, it's, again, I love the vibe and the atmosphere. It's fun to be there, but it's, that's not as bad because you're only paying what, 30, 40, 50 bucks for lawn seats. But like, if I'm paying $100 to be in a shitty venue, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to see them, the Chili Peppers, the Stone Temple Pilots, actually. Yeah,
That's a good band too.
yeah, that was. I was thankful to be able to see. I was thankful to see Audio Slave also, and that was at Lollapalooza, so I got to see Jane's Addiction and such also. Yeah,
Man, there's so many good bands.
so many. But Blood Sugar Sex Magic. We're back to 1991. I came into the album way later than that, obviously, because I was like 8. But this is the album. Like I said, I noticed music on all of these other things as well, and lyrics. This is where the music first hit me. This is when I was like, oh, the music's doing something different. Because the drums are ridiculous. The bass is wild. And the guitar, like, this is when you're talking about every person as an instrument. This is where I subconsciously realized that. And again, this is another, could be polarizing band because a lot of people don't like Anthony Kiedis. I'm not going to argue with that. That's fine. But I like his writing style. Is weird. But I like a lot of his content is really good too. This album particularly, like, even this and Californication, that's not the name of the album, is it? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. The opening track is called "The Power of Equality," and you wouldn't expect like a political song from the Red Hot Chili Peppers or any substance whatsoever. You just expect kind of silliness and sexy stuff. But like they have them if you listen. They definitely have a message where they're even in their earlier stuff too. If you go to Mother's Milk before this in '89, they have songs about indigenous people and stuff like that too, and the ridiculous things that they've been put through. And in The Power of Equality, like it's about racism because like it says black is anger, white is fear.
Is that the album they worked with Rick Rubin on?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. This is kind of, I'll probably call it their breakthrough also. Like there's,
Sure.
on the Mother's Milk in '89, they did a cover of Stevie Wonder's,
Superstition?
not Superstitious, Higher Ground.
Oh, yeah.
And that was probably a big deal. But this is like the album that like, this is almost like a defining for especially the early '90s era. And, so you get that, and then you also get like these beautiful lyrics. Like there's a song called "I Could Have Lied," and it's this very, very like the guitar. I'd hesitate to call it a solo. It's just like a little lead over an acoustic song, wherever there's not vocals.
Right.
And it's played so soft. And again, I feel like a jagoff even saying this, but the space in it is what makes it, because it's not too much. It's just enough. And the way it's done, like you close your eyes and you get lost in that. And it's like an emotional trip just musically. And then lyrically, you've got stuff like Anthony Kiedis coming out and saying stuff like, a mountain never seems to have a need to speak. A look that shares so many seek. And you're like, man, all right, we're getting a little deep here. Okay.
Jesus.
Like it's written weird so that it works, but it's so good. And then you come down to like, there's still the ridiculous sexy stuff. Suck My Kiss, Sir Psycho Sexy. But then you've got those vulnerable under the bridge songs where like, and the musicianship is like out of this world. And again, they don't have a bad album per se.
No, I would agree.
But this is the album that I won't skip a track because every single one of these is amazing. Even like some other albums, I might skip a track or two here. or there's definitely songs that I dislike, but as a whole, like that's just musically. And then I feel like they brought me to playing the bass because I was like, I never heard this as an option for playing until I heard this album, and then I was like, oh. And don't get me wrong, that just by no means do I play like this in real life, but it made me think like, oh, I want to take my hand at this because it sounds so cool. I want to be able to make these sounds, and that's what I did. I learned not the full songs, but parts of like 6 of these songs off this album, and that's kind of where I started when I first started playing. Is just mimicking some of these parts. I had to be shown them. I do not have an ear for music. I am not a good musician, but I just love to be able to play them, and that kind of slowly evolved into whatever my style became, which is like just a droning, boring version of this.
No, they're a good. I mean, and talk about longevity. I mean, obviously they've had their like guitarists change ups and whatnot, but I mean, even that's been somewhat consistent because they kind of come and go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of John Frusciante, particularly with the band. Like this is another band I love. Their first 3 albums with Hillel before he passed away. I love their old raw stuff, and that's why I laugh too when people like their first song on their first album is called "True Men Don't Kill Coyotes." Like, so they've always kind of had an agenda hidden in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's it's I just can't say enough good stuff. I would highly recommend checking them out. I think one of the other things too is sometimes people, like we were talking about Rise Against, like their latest album didn't really resonate with us, and it's easy to kind of write them off. AFI haven't resonated with the last couple albums, and that's okay. That doesn't bother me as long as it finds their audience. The Chili Peppers, for me personally, are unique in that out of every other group, like you said, longevity, I feel like they've grown with me. Because they're not putting out the same album. Like, they're getting older. They're playing different. They're evolving as musicians. They're not just, like, they didn't just at Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic be like, we're done.
Right.
Like, they're the guys that love what they do, so it's constantly evolving. And you can tell that in the albums. Every album, while definitely feels like the Chili Peppers, sounds different.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love is because it's got those wild 80s years, and it's got those semi-polished 90s years, and then it's got these older men polished in the later 2000s. And I'm like, and it's really shadowed my life as I've grown up as well. And kind of as I've evolved as a person, this band has evolved with me with every album. And just because I happen to just be the right age. And it's like, that's something that really bonds me to these guys particularly, that I've just always loved.
No, I mean, the Chili Peppers are one of those bands that, like, whether you are, like, a fan or not, like, I mean, like, me, like, I don't know that I ever, like, growing up, like, bought one of the records or whatever, but at the same time, and I may not directly seek out to listen to one of their songs, but they pop up frequently on my playlists because of their integration with some of the other bands.
Yeah.
And never do I skip it.
Yeah.
I always listen to it. So it's one of those where, like, I love it, but I just don't find myself seeking it out more. But I think I would like to take maybe a little bit of a journey into some of, like, the deeper cuts of stuff that I'm probably overlooking, because a lot of the stuff that's getting spit at me is going to be your, stuff that's more mainstream.
It's gonna be the radio stuff, which is
still fine.
Dude, even if you even go back to a song like "Give It Away," which is murdered on the radio, listen to what he's actually saying though. But there's so many songs that, like, you just kind of idly listen to and, like, I dig on this, but actually sit back and, like, listen to the lyrics, and you're like, wow, this is kind of awesome. The lyrics to "Give It Away" are actually pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and just a song about, like, love in general. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, I do love the Chili Peppers. I also love that they, like, just pop up in movies and shit. Like when they were in Point Break. I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh! Yeah,
is that who I think it is?
yeah.
Like,
The Big Lebowski when Flea's one of the nihilists.
yeah, or I'm pretty sure Flea pops up in Back to the Future too, for like a minute as like one of his coworkers. I was like, that's awesome. Like,
That is awesome.
How random that they just pop up like that.
Yeah.
But, so my album, I don't know if I'm gonna call it my favorite ever, but it's definitely in the overall category. So this is a band that I've been a fan of since well, not quite since they started. It was one of those things where like I came across an album and it turns out it was their third album. I don't love the direction maybe they've gone with some of their last two albums. I also have that like kind of like, oh, I listened to them before they were big, like hate that they've become kind of globally recognized, which doesn't ruin it for me, but you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
But the band is Muse and the album is Absolution.
Yeah.
Came out in like 2002. And it was, even though we've talked about this several times about each person being an instrument in the song, which Flea 100% is, but it didn't grab me the same way it grabbed you, probably because I wasn't as avid of a listener. Well, to me, Muse was interesting because it was the first time kind of since Nirvana that like it was a three-piece band creating a sound that sounded so much bigger than three pieces.
Yeah.
And Chris, the bass player, his bass lines on some of these songs, especially a song like Hysteria, is just, I mean, like, when you see people on YouTube like doing bass covers, like Hysteria is almost always on there because it is not an easy song to play.
Right.
You should look it up sometime.
I only know their one song, the one radio hit.
Time is running out, probably. Maybe
I don't even know what it's called, but I love that song. I've never heard another Muse song besides.
There's so many good ones, and Absolution has, so Matt, the lead singer, so he's the lead singer, guitarist, but he can shred.
Yeah.
Furthermore, he's a classically trained pianist. So it was, and again, not that this was the first time this is ever done. I mean, Queen used to do it like crazy, but it was the first time where like there's specifically a song called Butterflies and Hurricanes. And this song takes you through so many journeys, and all of a sudden like it slows and you hear these crescendos of these violins. And keep in mind, this is all done in a studio with real musicians.
Yeah, right.
You know, that he scored.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this piano comes, and it's like this, like classic, like, and like when I heard it, it was unlike anything I ever heard before. It was like they were mixing rock with like classical, with like piano and strings, and like, to be honest with you, it was what we did with Evolution was a massive Muse ripoff.
Yeah.
Like integrating those timpanis and the strings to like just bring it like depth and wideness, and like, and I've seen Muse, they also kind of hold like a personal, it was both of my kids' first concerts.
Oh, wow, really?
And they didn't go as like dads toting, you know, token kids who looks cool bringing his kids in.
Yeah.
Like they were headbanging, singing the lyrics, like they were into it.
Yeah.
And I saw them at the Aragon before they got like big.
Yeah.
Because I mean they've been around since like '95.
Yeah, I say they've been around a long time.
You know, and they're still putting out records, and like I still enjoy them. Definitely much more produced.
Yeah.
Much more processed.
That's interesting because I feel like Absolution is so produced.
Well, so produced, I would say. So there's the beautiful, if there's one thing I'm super into, it's documentaries or making ofs albums. I love the process. They did it at this studio at this like old like church, and everything is organic. Like I said, the strings, it's an orchestra. The piano, it's a piano. So it's very big produced in the sense that there's a lot of moving parts, but it is all like very organic.
Yeah, it still feels intimate.
And the mix is definitely more raw compared to like their newer stuff. I mean, when you like had like Starlight come out and like, you know, after like Black Holes and Revelations, I mean, but they're still a three-piece.
Yeah.
It's still the same lineup since the inception, same three guys, and each one of them is the instrument. And like you should get into some of Chris's stuff. Like he writes some, they're not crazy, they're not as funk as like Flea.
Yeah.
But man, they're good. It's like, to me, like that album is just like damn near flawless.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I wish I could remember the one song. It's on that album. I feel like
It's probably Time Is Running Out.
that title sounds crazy.
I mean, it's the only song off that album that really became a single.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could just be that I'm just not familiar with the title in general. Nope,
I mean,
it's not off that album.
Uprising?
Yeah, that's the Resistance.
Okay, Resist, yeah.
That's a different album. That's why.
Yeah.
But that song is so good,
Yeah.
and that's got a really cool bass line.
Oh, it's just a do.
Yeah, but it's again like just the tip. It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it just carries that song.
Yeah, I mean, he plays like
His
headless
vocals
bass.
too over it. Oh,
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, when you see them live, it is not. I can't imagine it's an easy task doing like lead guitar and vocals, let alone guitar and vocals.
yeah.
So and they do have a fourth man that tours with them that
Sure.
provides some backing stuff and
Yeah.
but for the most part, I mean, they produce such a big sound. But Absolution is just like, it's kind of like my Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
No matter what period of I'm going through in life, it's always going to be in that list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But movies have to be a whole different one. It's kind of like we talked about early 90s, 2007.
Yeah.
One of the best years. Dude, you had Juno. You had There Will Be Blood. You had No Country for Old Men. You had Charlie Wilson's War. I mean, that was a good year for movies.
That's funny you say that particular year only because 1987 is the best year for movies. Like all your favorite 80s films came out in 87. And I feel like 2000 or 97 was also a huge one.
Yep.
It's almost like
Every-
on those sevens we get
every
all the
10
best
year,
films.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll have to do
I would love to do a film one also down the road. But do you have a couple of what's it called? Honorable mentions?
Yeah, so one that I really wanted to find somewhere on that list was Gentleman by Afghan Wigs.
Oh, really?
They were kind of like a mid 90s.
Yeah.
Not quite. I hate trying to like lump them in with somebody. They definitely weren't grunge. A little bit more melodic.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of like other like hip hop albums that I wanted to put on there, but when it came to hip hop, I think even back in the day when we didn't have like streaming, I was a little bit more geared towards songs than albums when it came to hip hop. That I'll freely admit.
Yeah.
A
lot of them were tough too because even the Wu-Tang Clan, even like there was so many sketches that were like or like little talking points too that I was like, I don't know if this is gonna hold up in a couple of years.
Yeah. One honorable mention I will make that it gets a lot of praise, but I think people just bad an eye to it is Live Through This by Hole.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that an older one or is that the one with Celebrity Skin?
No, so it was before Celebrity Skin.
Okay.
So it came out right after he died.
That had their first big hit on it. I don't know if it was big, but their first hit on it.
Yeah, I mean, it had Doll Parts. And it had
Doll Parts.
Jennifer's Body. And, like, it's one of those albums, like, where you go back and listen to it, it's like, wow, like, that's actually, like, a really good album, really good written songs. Now, it's no secret that he had his hand in writing some of them with her, which I'm not saying that's why it makes it good, but that's an album sometimes that goes, like, unnoticed. But when you read, like, the quote-unquote, like, dark web, like, there's a lot of people out there like, fuck yeah, dude, it's a really good album.
Yeah. I
But
can see that.
yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, like when you went down like the Alanis Morissette, like I mean, there's those albums that out there that you just cannot deny that it's just a great album.
Well, some of them too, like we talked about a lot of old albums, and a lot of those I feel like are nostalgic for a time, or we just loved because of we've loved it for so long. Jagged Little Pill is one of those ones that I still listen to the full album, but anytime I do, it fits into where I'm at then. Because I was 12 when it came out. I wasn't necessarily relating to the content so much as just loving it overall, what made sense to me. And it's another one that's grown with me where like, I feel like it's timeless.
Yeah.
Like, like even Doggy Style there's parts that are funny to me still,
Sure.
but don't necessarily hold up 30 years later.
Well, yeah.
But I enjoy it because I liked it back then. Jagged Little Pill still plugs in anywhere and feels relevant, and it's produced so well that it still sounds good. Like a lot of stuff I'll listen to, and I'm like, I wish this would get a remaster because it could sound so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't get caught up in that. I try not to get caught up in that because I don't control that. But some of my honorable mentions are the stuff like Dropkick Murphys. I love the Dropkick Murphys, and I love all their albums and I love all their songs. And it was so hard not to put Blackout on here because it's a phenomenal album. Listen to Dropkick Murphys. Victor Wooten's What Did He Say? Like again, as a bass player, and I just like jazz music and funky stuff. Like Victor Wooten's uncomfortable to listen to. He'll make you not want to be a musician. Against Me, White Crosses. Against Me is Laura Jane Grace is the lead singer. She's my favorite singer in general. And I love all of their albums too. But this is an instrument because the first time I listened to them, I did not like them. And I remember it was a time when I was sharing a lot of music with Kristen. And I was like, can you listen to this? Like something about it I just don't like. And she's like, yeah, it's just not good. And then like years later, it came up again, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. And it's so weird to me because it's one of the few albums that's ever happened to me before, where like there's a time and a place for everything. And now I can't imagine my life without Against Me because they're one of my favorite bands. And Laura Jane Grace does so much solo stuff, and it's all fantastic. Listen to her. Alicia Keys, Songs in A Minor.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to get that album for free. Jay had a girlfriend whose car was broken into and all her CDs were stolen, and her insurance covered it. And they're like, hey, we're going to go replace all our CDs. Do you want a CD? I was like, get me Songs in A Minor by Alicia Keys. And I would sit in my room and just listen to that whole album, every single track, while playing Dr. Mario. And like for hours and hours. I love that. I still love Alicia Keys. She's one of my favorites. And I love even more if you can get the song No One on her Storytellers album, because she plays piano, but there's a band behind her. And for me, anytime you can get a good singer behind a band, as opposed to like what they do in the studio, for some reason for me, I just love it. And it's got an actual drum kit behind it, and it sounds so good. It's the same thing. Like I love Pink. And like if you can get Pink behind a band, like she does stuff with Dallas Green, who is an amazing singer also. Like their stuff is so good. And then Days and Days is probably the newest thing I listen to. This is one everybody should check out. This is like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's an acoustic guitar, a trumpet, a washboard, and a kind of bass. It's like a bucket with a broomstick and just two strings is all the basses. And it's called, I forget what they call the genre, is because like, I can't even remember because they're scummy people because they live in their van. They just travel around playing shows. But Show Me the Blueprints has some of the best songs and lyrics I've ever heard. The music is very unique because with those four instruments, it's still just like high intensity punk rock, which makes no sense, but it is. And it's really, really good. In fact, I have a tattoo inspired by one of the songs because
nice.
He talks about how he's a human grenade and he's good at pulling his own pin. And I have a tattoo of a grenade exploding with the initials ICMB in case of mental breakdown. So yeah, that would I feel that the one I left out is Corporate Avenger. That was a tough one for me to not put on the list. Corporate Avenger's Freedom is a State of Mind radicalized me in a way that Rage Against the Machine might have politicized me, this album radicalized me. Holy Christ. To this day, this album is like, it's a tough listen, but it's so good. Like, it's got songs called Taxes Are Stealing, and these are explanations of why, not just a song about taxes. Like, here's why, here's the proof. The music is kind of industrial-ish. It's not like traditional drum and bass, which was hard for me to get into, but the lyrical content is like being spoken. It's like somebody reading you an essay in the best way. That's where there's a song called Christians Murdered Indians. Like, there's a song called Jesus Christ Homosexual. Like, there's so many things in there that I absolutely love. $20 Bill is one of my favorite songs. It talks about the Trail of Tears. Buddy who made the Trail of Tears is who's that on the $20 bill?
Jackson? No.
Yeah, Andrew Jackson. Yeah,
okay.
that's right. That's the lyrics. Andrew Jackson made his plea removal of the Cherokee. So it talks about how here's a man who like did so much harm to natives. And the lyrics are literally like, if Hitler was on the $20 bill, how would the Jews feel? Trail of Tears. And you're like, God damn. This is the most hard-punching album I've ever heard politically in my life, still to this day. And I absolutely love it. And I would highly recommend anybody that wants to feel a certain way or just get fucking fired up, Corporate Avenger. Freedom is the state of mind. Now, these are native people also. Like, they are... So, like, their stuff is well-researched. Even in the booklet is like this album is written in the language of the times. This is just how we talk as people. It is not meant to offend or hurt anybody. This is all about trying to bring everybody together in, you know, any way we can. It's like, while this message is for everybody, this album may not be.
Yeah.
And I always really admired that. And that, if you have nothing else, is the album I would love to end on.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I mean, dude, the cool thing about this conversation is, you know, even just talking to you and hearing your albums, like, then opens up doors that I forgot were there.
Yeah,
and then I'm like,
well, it's like Dredge when I forgot Dredge.
yeah, it's like had we had this conversation off the cuff,
yeah,
and we're recording this podcast a week from now, my list would look a little different.
right. That's I think that's what's funny is we could do this once a month and it'd probably
And it
be
would
different.
change. I mean, there would be like the core ones on there. I mean, like, you know, there's bands that I've come across, like, you know, like Murdered by Death, like,
yeah,
where they have a bass player, but they play like a cello, and like they had like just different things. And then, like, I mean, dude, like I could like find myself listening to like Sarah McLachlan, like sometimes being like, God, her voice is just so like
yeah,
angelic. Or like, you know, when you talk about the big thing that I love is, you know, like you, because, you know, probably because we're musicians, we love real musicians
yeah,
behind singers, right?
Right.
And sometimes when you have these bands or solo artists that are kind of like cultivated in the studio,
yeah,
and then you put them out, like I remember seeing Amy Winehouse at like Brixton or wherever, and like with a band, I was like, holy shit. Like, it was like the power, and like, you know, like it sounded so different with like, not to say that they didn't record it maybe with a real band, but it just, when they mix that and they have it in the studio, the focal point is the vocalist,
right. Well, it becomes
right?
a pop album
Right.
instead of a rock album.
Everything
right.
else is lost. So
Yeah.
that's why I love, like, that's why we're so lucky, dude. I mean, and again, it's no surprise that we reference the 90s so much. Like, the Unplugged series of so many bands are so iconic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even Alice in Chains, dude.
Oh yeah.
When you watch
It's
that
really good.
performance and you see the pain that he's in, what he's going through, but it's flawless.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite
It's
iconic
haunting.
lines. Like the song "Rooster"
Yeah.
is about his dad and, you know, being in war when he was in war and stuff. But that opening line, "Ain't found a way to kill me yet," is so iconic. Also, in the same vein is the White Stripes,
Yep.
100 Nation Army.
Seven Nation Army.
Seven Nation Army.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. When he's like,
I'm gonna fight him off.
You're gonna fight him off, yeah.
The Seven Nation Army
Couldn't hold me back.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. There's again, to your point, like this could be a weekly podcast.
Yeah, we won't, but it could
No, we
be.
won't. Yeah, we don't want to.
The point is, listen. Like, how lucky are we to be able to listen to music whenever we want, as much as we want? Check out these albums. Tell me, I would love to. This is one of the rare ones I would love to see as many comments as possible of what people's favorite albums are. Like, and I don't mean text me.
Yeah.
By the time these albums come, are these podcasts?
We'll change our list anyway.
I don't remember what was talked about.
Like, who'd you put again?
I appreciate people talking to me and enjoying the show, but like, put some comments on the thing. You can comment on when I share it on Facebook on there, or you can actually comment right on Spotify. And I definitely want to hear other people's favorite albums, and I'm excited to get the hell out of here so I can go listen to some of these other ones.
That, and we have a recurring theme, you and I, of sweating when we do these things.
Bruh.
For those of you that are not in here, it is about 90 degrees.
Yeah, I think you can probably hear me sweating. You can hear my peeling off the leather every time I move a little bit.
Exactly.
But all right, well, we're going to piss off. Thanks again for finding some time, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Love talking
this is
about
number
this
3.
stuff.
I love it. Let's
this
keep
I
it
could
going.
do all day. Forget all this getting to know people. Let's just talk about albums.
Absolutely.
All right, later, man.
All right.